Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a fun-filled episode of Smack to the Mat. I'm your boy Matt. Vince had to work tonight, or else he would be here with me, and we'd be watching some AEW right now. This is what I'm watching, anyways. And the Young Bucks are about to win their match, and they just did. They beat the Acclaimed for the titles that they had, obviously. But that's over now, so I can focus on my main topic of today's story. Is got a good buddy of a friend of mine, and he's starting to come up in the world of being a good friend of mine too. Mr. BloodiaJin over on the Twitch. I'll drop his Twitch in the drop bar below for you guys. He's a gamer. He does a bunch of stuff. Bloody, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, man?
Well, I'm doing good. It's just, day before, just under an hour before Christmas Eve. So I figured, let's give the fans something new this year for Christmas. Give them a present or two. I know with the holidays and COVID and all that fun shit.
Yeah, I gotta keep them fed,
Right, definitely. So, what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to talk to Bloody about professional wrestling, something that he used to be a big fan of, and I just want to get his takes on where he fell out, how he fell out, what drove him over the edge, and is there a possibility he might come back to the dark side of the ring? Maybe, who knows? I know I've gotten Lil to come back a few times, but he's always just here and there, or here and there, and then it's like, at least he's trying. He's giving it an effort. So, with that being said, let's just jump right into this shit, shall we? So, Lodi, when did you first hear or see wrestling?
So I came into it like way back. Like when we're talking way back, I'm talking like Hulk Hogan in his prime. Like he had just beat Andre the Giant that far back.
Okay, so beating Andre would have been WrestleMania 3, if I'm not mistaken. And that was probably the best time when WWF at the time was shooting to the moon like a motherfucker.
Yeah, give or take. Right. I kind of have some reserve on that one, but I think that was the one that made it a household name.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Coming from a fan of the WWE, I know a lot of people give me crap for it because it's shit now, but everything's shit nowadays. Just gotta find the shit you like and deal with it.
I won't say that it's shit. We'll touch on it a little bit later, but it's kind of like that first high.
Yeah.
You get that first high, and it just takes you to a place where you never get back again. And every time you keep trying, it's just gonna fail you every single time.
That is damn true. That's a very good point. So with Hogan and Andre, that's basically where you started.
It wasn't exactly like when that happened, but it was around that.
Around that time. Were you an avid watcher of it? Like, did you watch it constantly, or like? I think they had a Saturday night main event show on that. I know a lot of people. It's Saturdays, they're off from work. It's late night Saturday night. If there wasn't a boxing match on or some sort of sporting event that was a huge deal, they would watch that.
Actually, so this gets a little bit interesting.
Okay.
So I was watching the WWF back in the old days, right?
Right.
Honestly, it would come on Saturdays, and then there would also be USWA,
okay.
Which, if you know your wrestling history, that was Jerry Lawler's old outfit. Like way back when he had the goatee.
Right. And that was
now
wasn't that based in Tennessee where he was?
Yeah,
because that's where he started.
He would put on his shows, and this is actually where the Undertaker got his start. He was wrestling under a different name back then. Like he had the same gimmick,
right?
He was there without Paul Bear. So that was kind of you got to see a lot of the legends when they first arrived in wrestling. So I was watching The Undertaker do his thing like way back when The Undertaker wasn't a thing, and like you started seeing like a lot of upcoming guys like Junkyard Dog, Ricky Steamboat really kind of rise through some of those old ranks.
Okay.
Like they were on the ham and egg circuit.
I see. He knows the lingo, ladies and gents. So let's go ahead and just. So, for those of you who don't know, United States Wrestling Association is the USWA that was founded by Jerry Jarrett, or at least owned by Jerry Jarrett. Founders were Fritz von Erich and Jerry Jarrett. So that was I'm not 100% sure. I don't feel like really looking it all up, but pretty sure. Obviously, it's in Tennessee. That might have been something to do. It was just at that time you had promotions in all sorts of areas. There was, I think, at least 12 different promotions that were all fighting for territory. From what they've said on like Jericho's podcast and other podcasts, is the territorial days where, with Andre the Giant being a big name, all these territories would try to get him. So he wasn't always at he wasn't owned to one spot. And that was actually one thing that even Vince McMahon didn't have him under a full contract because of that reason, because he was such a huge name and he can go wherever he wanted to go, but Vince paid him the most and let him do it anyways. So little fun tidbit for those of you who didn't know that. Also, well, I'm thinking of Andre the Giant. Did you see that HBO special of his?
Yeah, actually, I did watch that. So I was a big fan of Andre the Giant back in those days. Hulk Hogan just wasn't like, he was corny to me. Don't get me wrong. Like Hogan was he was pretty amazing athlete. He was pretty decent on most of the stuff he did. Like he was one of the first wrestlers that branched out into films, that branched out into a lot of more mainstream stuff outside of the wrestling circuit. So he was kind of the face in the place to really kind of get wrestling on the map.
Which, in turn, could you say he was the one who turned it into sports entertainment?
Yeah, well, I would say that would be the case, because before anybody else really was into wrestling, like you had to really just be into it. When it came down to Hulk Hogan, they pushed him in so many different markets. Like he was everywhere in the 80s and 90s. Like eat your vitamins, say your prayers,
right,
drink your milk, kind of thing. That was his kind of thing, and they pushed him really hard as a face for what essentially was like almost 20 years.
Yeah, because was that 97 or 98 when he turned and joined the NWO?
Well, I mean, the big destruction point for his whole career was he left the WWE or WWF at the time and left to go to that was the beginning of the Monday Night Wars.
That's true.
Yeah, that was basically you put a smiley face on a nuke. Like Hulk Hogan was one of the biggest draws. He had been the face for years, and his star power was kind of waning a little bit. But he was like he was one of the first guys that could really put on a good promo. He can cut a good promo. He could wrestle in the ring. He was really big. He was really strong, but he was also a family household name. So, I mean, you couldn't escape the guy.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Growing up, I know that when my dad's friend or us would get a pay-per-view with Hulk Hogan involved, we'd have a couple buddies at the house. He was the main attraction, so you just say Hulk Hogan's going to be there. It's already sold out, basically.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happened later on with Rock and Stone Cold once their names are there. Because I found out there was a show back in the late, I want to say it might have been 1999, maybe in 2000, where they were in some place where it was a Monday Night Raw, and I guess Chris Jericho was supposed to win the title from The Rock that night due to some wonky finish, which is fine. But The Rock was stuck due to flight delays, and he couldn't make it to the show. And they actually allowed people to get a refund because they wanted to see The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a lot of shows like that. Like they had a lot of. I think there was one historically in. I think it was Raleigh, North Carolina. It was supposed to be Stone Cold and The Rock doing a rematch for the title, and Stone Cold, I think he got injured. That was the beginning of him having those neck problems.
I gotcha.
And he couldn't make it. And yeah, that show quickly fell apart. It was one of those Saturday. I think they used to have like a Saturday morning superstars kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where anybody who kind of wanted to stay could stay for all the warm-up acts and like the mid-ringers and all that.
Yeah, like the dark matches and the after-show matches, basically.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler background matches. That's the ones I like to call them.
Man,
like that's all you ever see of the Brooklyn Brawler.
Right. Speaking of a wrestler I haven't heard in years.
I mean, actually, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. To be completely fair with you.
Wow.
Like, I think. Well, I mean, it's the fact that you got a guy who basically jobbed for like what?
10, 15 years, probably.
All of my childhood, he jobbed, and then one day I think he made it over to. He made it over to WCW or somewhere. I think he was actually with the WWF, I think. And he actually let him win a match, and I was like, wow. We finally let the Brooklyn Brawler win a match. I guess this is where wrestling has hit its peak.
Let's see. See if I can find his winning streak, his record.
Oh yeah, you're gonna look at that record and go, what the fuck? Actually, let me see, because I think I have it on. I think I got it in front of me. Hold on.
Okay, go for it. But no, you're actually one of the first people who, when I talk to wrestling, who knows the name Brooklyn Brawler, and for him to be one of your top guys, man, round of applause for you, my man. Because don't get me wrong, I like some of the jobbers. I'll be honest, because some of the jobbers, they resemble me in a way. You know, just a small guy who weighs like $125, and yeah, he's getting jobs, but hey, he made it to TV. He's fighting somebody.
Yeah, he was actually getting some real matches. Like he got a lot of screen time over the years. Like, yeah, he got 23 wins out of the entire time that he wrestled.
Jesus.
I know that's not a lot, but it's the fact that whenever he did win, it was ridiculous. Like the Brooklyn Brawler had 21 wins and 266 losses.
Yeah, that's a lot of losses.
I mean, he was made the job,
right?
But the fact gave him he got as many wins as he did, and whenever he did win, it was actually really shocking to people. They were like, "Wow, what the hell? The Brooklyn Brawler won?"
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why a lot of people love that kind of weird. You know, obviously he's gonna lose. Wait, he actually won one. If you bet money, you would probably win the mint.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. The odds of him winning, you'll make more money.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the Brooklyn Brawler is one of those. He was one of those leftover ham and egger guys who just never really fit the mold. And when he retired, you know, it was just like, I guess the soul of real wrestling kind of retired with him, and everything else that was left became plastic as shit.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, we'll cover some of that a little
right.
detail, don't worry.
Yeah, we got time. I'm in no hurry to go to bed or get up. But so let's jump ahead a little bit. So, do you remember watching an actual WrestleMania, like through start to finish, by any chance?
I've watched quite a few of them. We were watching. What was it? We watched. We actually watched the first Royal Rumble. My brother and I really got into it, like really heavy.
Okay.
We watched the first Royal Rumble. We watched the first couple of WrestleManias when they first came. We got really big.
Gotcha. Like when they came on like VHS or DVD, probably rented them.
Well, yeah, we're talking like VHS era.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were watching those like nonstop. We would watch them until the tape popped.
Yeah. My cousins actually, when I got them into wrestling for Christmas one year, they got WrestleMania 14 or 15 on VHS. And any weekend I'd stay the night, man, we'd turn that fucker on, and they might still have it. I think it's still in actually pretty good condition, but we'd watch it all the time. Because it was good.
15 was a hell of a show, though.
Right.
So I mean, it's good taste.
Rock and Austin won. I mean, can't beat that, really.
I mean, that's pretty much the whole reason why the WWF is the way it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. So, get your take on the Royal Rumble. What do you think when you guys heard that as a kid? You heard something called the Royal Rumble. What do you think it was, or what made you kind of, oh, this sounds interesting, let's check it out, or was it kind of? Let me get your thoughts on that.
It was a complete clusterfuck. You know, I remember this one really, really well. Like, I remember good old Vince when he was still, he was still a referee,
right?
Coming out and explaining to you how the Royal Rumble was supposed to work. I mean, my brother were like, "What the hell is this? You're to have 30 men in a ring just battling it out," and it was absolute chaos. Like, you could tell that you couldn't script around that,
right?
Like, the scripting on that was really bad. So, like, usually, like, in a Royal Rumble now, you'll usually see, like, at least, like, 10 men in a ring. That's manageable.
Right.
But, like, you had, like, 20 men in a ring at a time. You know, at the big point of the match, there was, like, at least 10, 20 men in the ring. Like, towards the end of the match, you're down to, like, 15, 12. That's unmanageable. So you saw dudes just doing whatever it is they're gonna do.
Right.
You saw guys like gassing out. Obviously, they're just getting completely just worked. And you knew who was gonna win at some point, but it looked like a drunken brawl as opposed to like a WWE match.
Right. It was like a fight broke out at like a Yankees game or something like that, kind of.
Yeah. It was okay. Like, it was fine. Like, the first, I think they got it together. Like, I think it was like the Royal Rumble. Like, I think it was like the 5th or 6th Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Things got a little more scripted. You could tell where I think it was right around the Raw era. The whole Monday Night Wars era that they cleaned up a lot of that.
Yeah, because I don't really remember the very first Royal Rumble that I watched. I do remember the one that I watched a lot because I liked it, and I want to say it was 2002. See who won that one. Because if that was the one Triple H won, then that would be the winner. Yeah, that was the one Triple H won.
Yeah, it's around the time that DX had broke up.
Yep. Triple H basically went solo.
Yeah, and he had won his first Royal Rumble. Yeah, that was right around that time period.
Right. No, okay. This was not the one I remember watching. This one, just funny because the house we were living in, we had cable in the basement and upstairs, but we didn't have the splitters at that time. So me and my sister shared the basement, and she wanted cable in her room. So I had to unhook it from my TV, plug it into her TV. Luckily, I was going away for the weekend, so I didn't care. When I came back, I wanted cable back in my room. I was flipping through her channels. It was at that time where like pay-per-views were on like channel 25 or whatever if you call ahead. But if you had cable, you could get it all staticky, but sometimes you could get a clear picture or at least the audio. So basically, I got to see parts of this, but I didn't actually get to watch it. But we did see the end where Triple H won the Rumble. And that was just awesome because I remember going up to my dad and like, Dad, Triple H won the Rumble. He was like, how do you know that? I go, I just watched it. He was like, how? I go, well, with the cable, we hooked it up to Ashley's digital TV thingy. Because at the time, I had an analog TV, so I had to plug the cable into a cable box. And it wouldn't work that way. But she had the digital TV.
You had to wiggle the cable around and shit and do weird stuff to get the picture kind of clear up a little bit. Yeah, I watched a couple of them, like a couple of WrestleManias that way back as a kid.
Gotcha. This one. Let's see. I do remember a Royal Rumble. Can't remember exactly which one, but the Dudleys took on the Hardy Boys in a tables match, and that was the opener.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about right around the time that the Brood had really kind of broken down.
Right.
I think Ed and Christian had split off to do their own tag team stuff because the WWE was in the middle of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Over Gangrel.
Yeah.
Because the whole White Wolf thing. That was the first tables, ladders, and chairs match. The Dudleys had brought the tables, ladders, and chairs match because that was right around 2004, 2003.
Yep, it was actually 2003. I went to that Rumble because I remembered too because Undertaker and Brock Lesnar were the last two men in the Rumble. Because Undertaker was the American Badass at the time.
Oh yeah, that failed fuck up arc.
Right. It did, but it didn't.
It was, man. it was an attempt. An attempt was made. Vince made an executive decision to fuck up an entire legacy of a character. Because that's really what it is. Like it's the portrayal of the Undertaker. Like the American Badass arc of the Undertaker was absolutely garbage, but you know, what can you do about it?
True.
These were Vince McMahon high dollar decisions.
Right.
He could do wrong during those years.
Right. Because looking up the results on this, so because I remember just watching that tables match because Jeff Hardy did the swanton off the balcony through Bubba Ray through the table, and that's how they won the match. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's so cool. And then I want to say
he broke his damn ribs.
Right. I want to say that wasn't the first TLC. Because the first TLC match was technically, a lot of people give me crap for this, but it was technically just a standard ladder match at SummerSlam.
Yeah. It was a shitty ladder match. They brought chairs in.
Right, they brought the chairs and the tables in because it's a ladder match. Anything goes.
Edge doing the execution.
Yep.
And then they did concerto shit.
Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah, and it just stuck there. Yeah.
Right.
I remember that one because, again, I was a big fan of Edge and the Hardy Boys were, I think they were my favorite.
The favorite tag team at that time?
Well, I mean, the arc between the two was really, really weird. Like, I remember this one like it was yesterday. They had the whole thing where Edge, and it was Edge and Matt Hardy's girlfriend at the time.
Oh, the Edge and Lita angle?
Yeah, when Lita left Matt Hardy, it was just like, what the hell is this?
Yep, that was way later down the road.
Yeah, but I mean, that was kind of one of those things where, like, the Hardy Boys had really kind of changed the game on as far as, like, the high flyers.
Oh, yeah, they did. And that's the thing is, like, nowadays it's all about I don't know if you've seen Ricochet, aka Prince Puma, or Will Ospreay wrestle. Man, those guys, they're good. They're good wrestlers, but they're just all basically cruiserweights in a way with the flashy, the flips. And it's like some of that's cool, but then
It's been done before,
right? It's like
here's if you're gonna go cruiserweights and you're gonna go with the greats, like if you're gonna talk about the best high flyers of all time, you know, you're gonna talk about your Jushin Thunder Liger.
There you
you're
go.
gonna talk about Rey Mysterio if you're gonna go more corporate. You're gonna talk about you're gonna talk about your honestly, the weirdest. I would say the Hardy Boys were. Well,
Jeff
Hardy.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy was one of the most prolific high flyers of all time.
Hands
you don't
down.
get many guys like that.
Hands down, yeah. And his thing too was he was just a daredevil. He just didn't really give a shit. And okay, hey, we need you to jump off a 20-foot thing. Okay.
Scaffold, just running senton bomb off a fucking scaffold. You gonna do it, Jeff? What are you? Sign me up. And it's like Jesus.
Right. It's like, how doped are you right now?
Please don't Owen Hart yourself.
Right. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I know. I know. I just hit a dark turn, but yeah, I remember that one too because I actually was. I remember watching that particular WWE event or WWF event when that happened.
See, we didn't watch that when it happened. I remember my dad got home from work the next day and was telling me that Owen Hart had died from falling from the scaffold, and I'm like, Owen Hart, the wrestler guy? He goes, yeah.
Yeah. See, everybody keeps thinking about Brett, and when they think of Owen, they think of Brett. So they never really think about like him as the Blue Blazer.
Right. Because he was the Blue Blazer.
It was a weird arc time. Like there's some weird, funky things going on. These are Vince events, so I can't really like shit on shit on everything. But Vince McMahon did some weird stuff in those days. Some of it worked out really, really well in his favor. Other times, not so much. And that was probably one of the determining factors into why wrestling went the way that it went.
Very true. Very true.
But no, if you're going to talk about high flyers, dudes that are willing to risk it all.
Right.
Honorable mention would have to be Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Yeah, hands down. Hands down. I'll put him at least top five. Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, honestly, other than the new breed, and by new breed I mean guys under 30. Just clear that out there for those of you who are listening. Guys under 30 because they're still new to the game. They're limber. They're young. They're like, because I think Ricochet is like 26. I think the Young Bucks are probably in their 30s, but they're light guys, so they can still move a little bit. But I don't consider them high flyers because I think they have more ground base than flips and stuff. But if I had to say, my top five would probably be number 5, RVD, number 4, because I just jumped into 4. I don't know why, but number 4 would. I don't know. Would your opinion? Would you take Ricky Steamboat as a high flyer? Or would you? Because a lot of people are like
ground based. He had a high fly. He had that cannonball as his finish for a while. If you're gonna go with high flying dudes, you're gonna have to step your game up. You're gonna have to bring in the flying Brian Pillman.
That's true. I always forget he was a high flyer because his son's wrestling now on AEW.
Yeah, I follow his son. Like he's one of the guys that keeps me still connected to wrestling.
I gotcha.
Just because like he's still got that youthful energy, but he's still kind of keeping it close to the family with the whole rebuilding of the
Pillman,
of the dynasty.
Right, the Pillman name.
Yeah. Well, no. He's still wrestling with British Bulldog.
Oh.
His son.
Oh, with the fuck, I forgot his name. David Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still wrestling with like some of the late greats kids.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rebuilding that kind of dynasty now. I wish them the best.
Right.
But you'll never be able to strike lightning like that.
Right.
I mean, you're building off of a name, but hopefully you can build a name of your own.
That too. It's like you don't want to. Basically, you don't want to be your dad. You want to be you, but you can still have that aspect of being your father by walking.
I think he's found a good balance. I think they've Davy Boy Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's figured out a good balance between that too, where he's capitalizing off of the name while not living vicariously his whole career through the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gives him a lot of leeway. Again, the same thing with Brian Pillman's son. Like he really doesn't. I've watched some of his matches because he actually talks about his matches on Twitch.
Mm.
He's really, really big into his dad's legacy, and he's trying to build his own, but he doesn't want to ever forget what his dad put out there.
Right.
So there is some overlap, which I respect.
Oh, most definitely.
If wrestling could stay like that, where you have a mixture of the old guard and, people not being forgotten, I think if you're really going to go there for that kind of thing, honorable mention for the female division. I know that Lita would be probably number 3 for me. But also Eddie Guerrero's daughter. Because she's actually wrestling again as well.
Right. Saw Guerrero?
She's got that high-flying style too.
Okay.
But yeah, go back to the list. I want to see who
you're good.
is. I'm curious.
So, number 5, RVD. Number 4, I'll say Ultimo Dragon.
Okay, that's respectable.
Because a lot of people, like, when I saw him wrestle, I was like, holy crap, it's like, he looks like a Rey Mysterio. And, like, his name's Ultimo Dragon. I'm like, I'm sold.
Everybody says that. Everybody says that about most of the mass wrestlers. Kind of have that Rey Mysterio style. Like, I mean,
well, they're luchadors.
I said Jushin Thunder Liger. Yeah, I mean, when you see a Jushin Thunder Liger or you think of a Rey Mysterio, you think of those type of guys.
I would say, honestly, I know he is considered, and he has the name, the GOAT of Lucha Libre, and that's Rey Mysterio.
Yeah,
he has it. He's not my number 1 pick though. Just because when I finally started liking him, he was past his old school goodness, in my opinion. He was still good, but he was older. Because I didn't start liking Rey until about 2004.
Okay, so yeah, he'd already been through pretty much all the really big
accolades
stuff,
right?
When he was in the WCW,
right? Because like everyone says, the match him and Eddie had at Halloween Havoc.
Oh yeah, that was a nasty match.
Yeah, I've never seen that match. I
watched that match.
Okay.
I was a Mysterio fan, but I'm also an Eddie Guerrero fan.
Right.
So you put those two together, you've got me sold.
Right. Because I never saw that match, and they're like, oh, like now people are like, yeah, that match is phenomenal, and I'm like, what match are you guys talking about? They're like Halloween Havoc, and I'm like, Eddie and Ray fought at Halloween Havoc. Because also I wasn't a huge WCW guy growing up either. My dad's old buddy he was the WCW guy. We were the WWE guys, and so WCW pay-per-view, we'd go there to watch it. WWE pay-per-view, they'd come here to watch it. That kind of shit, And just at the time, WCW it didn't click with me. I don't know why either.
A lot of people said the same thing. Like, the WCW felt generic in a way. I mean, they had a lot of bloat. Like, I think they really tried so hard to, like, catch up.
Right.
You're talking about the same establishment. They brought in the fucking Insane Clown Posse.
And Kiss.
Yes, they brought in Kiss and Insane Clown. Now, the Insane Clown Posse one was the one that messed me up because, like, it was him and Vampiro was just not really doing that well.
It's true.
because he was kind of a rip off of Gangrel, and then you had Raven and the Flock and Billy Kidman, and that didn't work out so good either because it was kind of a rip off of the Brood, and it was just they had these low budget type of wrestlers to kind of take over certain spots. So when WWF was in the middle of like intermission, I would flip to see what's going on WCW. And it's like, oh, look, Mongol McMichaels is still doing something stupid. Right,
yep.
Right back.
Good time. For those of you wondering too, I do have the WWE Network, so if I decide to, or if you guys would want us, say me and Bloody do a watch along, we could watch that match and give you our takes on it. Eddie Ray, Halloween Havoc. I'm down for it. I don't care.
Yeah, it's one of those matches to behold, to be completely honest with you. Like, if you wanted to watch, I haven't seen. I would say if you want to go with effective nastiness, as far as like that high flyer style, like that real malicious, nasty high flyer style. The only other match that I've ever seen that was close, well, two. It was Eddie Guerrero versus Juventud Guerrero.
That's another one I heard was really decent.
That was awful. Like, when I say awful, I don't mean like bad awful. I mean like, Jesus, this is your blood awful. Why are you doing this to him?
Damn.
That's Eddie. Eddie did shit like that back in the day.
Right.
And then you had, I think it was Alberto Del Rio versus, I want to say it was Chris Jericho. That was a nasty match. I think it was, I forget what year it was. It hasn't been real recent, but it was in the Jericho return phase of WWE. Okay.
His first one with the white, the Codebreaker one, or the other one?
The other one.
The other one. Okay.
The Codebreaker one that was still kind of in that Lion Tamer arc.
Gotcha.
Del Rio came around when he came back, when he still, man, I don't know what happened to him, but his whole chest sunk in over the years.
Right.
But I was like, man, he just doesn't look fit to wrestle anymore. But when he got in the ring, he showed me differently, but it's just like his whole gimmick was just off.
Gotcha. Well, there's 4 Jericho versus Del Rio matches I found. The one you're thinking of might be the most recent one, which would have been Monday Night Raw, June 24th of 2013.
Yep.
That's the one? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a really good match, because, again, you're talking, yeah, Jericho's not in his prime, but Del Rio's not a spring chicken either.
Right.
And they really went the real limits, to me personally. For a main eventer match, well, no, that wasn't the main eventer. That was the undercard to the main event.
Right.
But you know, those matches, the undercard to the main event, can be just as good as the main event, if not better.
Yeah, damn true. Damn true.
So that one was one of those standout matches to me, because I was like, I don't think he still got it. Because they had him doing all this weird shit, like running under the ring and hiding.
Oh,
he was
doing
still,
his...
who was he with at the time? I think it was, I can't remember the kid's name.
Del Rio or Jericho?
Jericho.
2013. Wasn't he with Big
Owens?
Show? Oh, he was with KO? That was...
Kevin Owens. Yeah, Kevin Owens was not a prolific wrestler. Like, he was okay, but I felt like Jericho really had he was a better wrestler overall.
Yeah.
And you put him with this second banana, you know, don't get me wrong, Kevin Owens is good.
Yeah, like, you should see the shit he's doing now with Roman.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Kevin Owens has always been good. He's always been a very talented dude. It's just that his gimmick was absolutely just annoying, and that kind of threw me off for a loop. You know, because most of the time you either had guys that really kicked ass in the ring, or they were somehow at least halfway decent. Cutting promos. Kevin could kind of do both, but they made him really kind of look like he was absolute garbage.
True. Because I did like him, because some of the shit he did in NXT was great. But when he got to main, other than taking on Cena, it didn't really click.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like, NXT lets these guys be just absolute.
Yeah.
Okay, Aleister Black in NXT, amazing.
Yep.
Velveteen Dream in NXT, amazing. Mainline Raw, absolute trash.
Yeah, Velveteen's still in NXT.
Good. I mean, again,
But
if I'm ever going to go back to wrestling at any given point, I'd rather watch NXT over mainline Raw any day, or mainline SmackDown any day.
yeah, I can agree. Because when I found out about NXT on the network, when it first started on the network, like, I was like, what? Because somebody mentioned it on, I think, Facebook, on one of my wrestling pages I like or something. And I was like, what's this NXT crap they're talking about? So I logged on the network and I'm like, NXT. I click, and it showed them doing a contract signing between Neville and Bo Dallas for their main event in a ladder match for the title. I'm like, okay, a ladder match. Let's watch it.
That's you did bring up an interesting thing. Like, when I remember Bo Dallas in NXT, Bo Dallas in NXT was a complete different animal.
Oh yeah.
Like, he was a tough guy. Like, he really could put on a real good match. You know, he may not put on the best match, but he puts on a really strong match.
Right.
Same thing with Neville. Neville was one of the high flyers that I really respected. I thought really had an up and coming career.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he hit like mainline WWE,
they kind of dropped the ball.
Neville, yeah, they dropped the ball on Neville every single time. They threw him in the cruiserweight division.
Yep.
And I'm like, first off, you never had a cruiserweight division.
Yeah.
Secondly, you got guys that have the personality of paint cans in the 208 in the 205 Live.
Yep.
Like, the only dude that had any type of charisma and you burned him out before you fired him was Enzo Amore.
Yeah. Yeah, Enzo. Enzo, he was good. Underrated as hell.
I liked Enzo. Like, I didn't like him in the ring so much all the time, but I liked Enzo in the fact that he had the showmanship of a young Rock.
Right. Right.
Like, he had that level of showmanship where if Enzo's just talking, like, I watched him do interviews outside of Raw.
Right.
If Enzo's just talking, he has that level of charisma, like when The Rock talks. Like, The Rock never had scripts. Like, he had, like, bullet points or whatever.
Right.
But for the most part, The Rock never had a script in the WWE. They never gave him a script because he fucked up every script.
Right.
Like, if you remember the early Rocky Maivia days?
Oh, yeah.
He fucked up every script, so they never let him cut a promo. And then he convinced Vince to let him cut a promo of his own.
Yep.
When he was still doing, like, before he joined the Nation of Domination.
Yep.
And he killed it. And you could tell that he had that natural energy. Enzo has it all the time.
Right.
Now, Enzo fucked himself a little bit. But, I mean, that's to be expected of somebody who just kind of has that kind of personality.
True. Yeah, no, with Enzo and Cass, when I saw him in NXT, it's like, I'm like, this, okay, I'm like, I like this duo, this dynamic. You know, you got the short guy and you got the muscle. Old school Shawn Michaels, Diesel kind of thing going here. And then Enzo's talking, I'm like, damn, this guy can talk.
It's between him. You know what the funny thing is? They did well with Enzo, and Cass did really well, but you know who really showed out there too? Carmella.
Yeah.
Carmella, she was actually just as good on the microphone as Enzo was.
Oh yeah.
And they took that away from her when she got in the main line.
She kept it for a while, but the problem I think they had is they split them up. They
work well together as
right.
opposed to kind of being split apart in that whole kind of. And I get it. Carmella and the Staten Island Princess bit wasn't really going to work for her.
Right. Her new bit, I don't like her new bit either.
Nobody likes it. Carmella is again. I will get into that, but that's part of the reason why I walked away from wrestling.
And yeah, we'll get into that here shortly.
Yeah, we're just kind of reminiscing at the moment.
We are. Hey, this is what I like, man. Like I said, I've been doing did the TLC recap over this past Monday, and man, in my head, I'm like, damn, I wish I had someone just bullshitting with me about it. Just because I like the feedback I get from it, man. It makes me feel good. It's like hitting the right points, arguing if we need to argue about something, you know.
Oh, I mean, like I said, this is the WWE in the current, like,
right,
of the year.
Right.
Like, I watched the progression of the WWE. Like, the progression of the WWE, I could sum up in one person's career. One person, not anybody else's, just one person. That there was the transition and the breaking point for me. It was Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston can basically personify everything I hate about the WWE. Because when Kofi Kingston first came out, and he was the only dude doing that, what was it? What's the name of the special that he does?
The Trouble in Paradise, the roundhouse kick.
Yeah. He was the only dude doing that. Like, the only other dude that I saw do something similar was Savio Vega. Like, this was like way back. So nobody else had done that in years. And he had the whole Jamaican thing, and he was just going wild with it. And it was between him and, I think it was a match between him and Carlito.
Okay.
And yeah, when fucking Carlito spitting apple in people's faces.
Right.
Yeah, it was a match between him and Carlito that he hit him with that spin kick.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is really wild. I really want to see where this dude goes. And fast forward a bunch of years, and here he is, and you know, with the whole Bootios thing, and it's just like, yep, this is enough.
So, here's the thing about that, though, is the whole Bootios thing. I didn't like it either. I thought it was dumb as shit. But so the thing with the New Day is, like, me and a couple other guys have talked about it. It's like you got three guys who are just phenomenal athletes in their own respective ways. You know, two and a half. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
You don't think Big E's got it?
So you see, you chose the wrong cat.
Okay.
Big E was already doing it. Big E was actually pretty talented before all of that. Like, he had that same kind of energy as a young Ron Simmons. Right?
Okay, you're right.
Like, he was like Farouk in his prime. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's got the body to do it. He's got the strength to do it. He's got the speed and the stamina to really go for good matches. But he has no personality.
I see.
Now, you tag him together with Kofi Kingston, who's got a lot of athletic ability, but he's got a mid-grade personality on the microphone. And I think the real thing that makes me say 2.5 is that Xavier Woods is he's a very talented wrestler in his own way, but his personality is over the top. So he kind of makes everybody look better by comparison.
Gotcha.
Because they kind of make him job a bit. He doesn't really like. From the time that I watched, Xavier never really could stick it out where he needed to. Like, every time that he would get in at that tiebreaker point of the match,
mm-hmm.
he would lose.
Yeah,
you just got sick and tired of looking at his face.
That's a good point. Did you ever see Woods in the old school Impact days, the TNA days?
Yeah.
His
Woods
consequences
had a
creed?
lot of. That's why I said he has a lot of potential as a wrestler. Because during his Impact days, you could really see that he had the markings to really do something.
Right.
It's just they slapped him together with two other black guys and said you're Team Black now. It's
Right.
like, that's not. I don't like that. He's got more charisma and more ability than. I mean, but then again, like the WWE is good at creating shitty tag teams, as well as breaking up shitty tag teams. I think it was
Or breaking up good tag teams.
Oh yeah, they tore apart very good tag teams. Who was it? Jordan.
Chad Gable and
Yeah,
Jason Jordan.
You know where I was going.
Yep.
Yeah.
American Alpha.
Yeah, American Alpha was probably one of the most talented tag teams I had seen in years.
Right.
And I caught them when they first started wrestling for NXT, and I was like, dude, they've got that.
They got the team angle.
They have an angle like a hawk and an animal. Like you could see it. They're like a more athletic hawk and animal.
Yeah, yeah. Because with me, it was more like, granted, yes, they were both wrestlers in high school and college, and freaking Gable, I think, won a medal in the Olympics. So, they have it. They know they can do the mat-based stuff. They really didn't do any high-flying stuff. And, like, when I first saw them, I was like, man, there's your next Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. There's Team Angle right there.
Right.
Which they tried doing when they split them up and put Chad Gable with Shelton Benjamin, and then shit the bed with that.
That's because Shelton Benjamin is a holdout, right? Shelton Benjamin's a holdout from a bad time. It was during the Morrison days. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when tag teams were just like let's slap two dudes together that are tangentially okay and see if they can hack it as a tag team. Like they did this for years. Like who was it? I can't remember his name. The woo woo gimmick.
Zack Ryder.
Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was an absolutely great, talented wrestler who got saddled in with like a dude that would literally shoot all match long.
Yeah.
Like he legitimately, he looked like he was gonna hurt people. It was a fucking botchamania every time he got in the ring. They had to rein him in and retrain his ass for several weeks. And every week he would get better, and then like a week later he would get worse. And you would literally go, dude, he's gonna get somebody fucking killed. You are on the level of Nia Jax. I'm gonna paralyze you. I
knew you were gonna go there because I was gonna go there too.
Like Nia Jax dropped people on their fucking heads.
Right. And Goldberg dropped the Undertaker on his head.
Oh my god, dude, no, you can't do that. Like that's where I bowed out of wrestling, because it's like, here we go, another botchamania, and I can't watch people botch it up when I watched greatness for years. Like I wasn't around for the Dusty Rhodes days, but I mean, if any of his speeches rang true, the WWE in 2020 are on hard times, daddy. I've never seen anything this awful.
Yeah, I can agree. I can agree to a point, but then I also have my disagreements. But before we get to that,
they're still talented dudes. I'm not going to take that away from talented people.
Hands down. We'll get into that, but before we do, let's go ahead and jump over to the indie scene, or the other promotion, so to speak. Because everybody knows about the WWE and right now, just WWE. It's all anybody talks about, other than AEW and Impact. But your take with the NWA? Like, did you ever watch any of those stuff back from the 80s or 90s?
Yeah. I mean, I kept up with the NWA. They kind of fizzled. They had a lot of potential, but they really fizzled. I think, what was it? Jeff Jarrett in his outfit they had a lot of star power, but it was all old star power. That was really what killed it for him. Because all of his star power were, what can you do with a Razor Ramon in 2013, 2012? How many more years do you think you're gonna get out of Razor Ramon? How many more years do you think you'll get out of Sting? How many more years do you think you'll get out of I want to say Diesel at the time? How many years do you think you can get out of you're talking old studs being put out to pasture and letting them have matches. And that was frightening. You couldn't get enough attendance. You had attendance to come out and see Sting. Everybody remembers, the old school stuff. So people would come out, but those indies, they were corporate indies where they were still kind of growing, but they weren't really they weren't ever going to take off because you had too much of the old guard sitting at the top. No one was ever going to take their place. Who else? I honestly, if I would ever hope that there would ever be a day that they would come back, and I know Heyman will never give up his coveted goals of being in the WWE. The one organization I would hope would someday make a comeback would
ECW?
have to be what's that?
ECW? Yep.
I mean, the liability waivers are going to be out the fucking roof, but I mean, you're probably going to not find any shortage of guys who would be willing to trade it all for wrestling fame, who would actually have talent. I mean, how many dudes? I mean, you had LoJack, which was a new man's version of Conan.
Mm-hmm.
You had Rob Van Dam, obviously. The Dudleys. You had so much talent that the WWE kind of squandered later.
Yeah.
But those guys were talented in their own right. In their own environment, they were wonderful. But, over at the WWE, they just got used up.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
But if you ever brought another organization together, I mean, hopefully it could be an ECW or it could be a better TNA.
Yeah. Yeah,
again, that's what killed TNA was that was the
nostalgia act.
Action with Jarrett's whole act. If you could get rid of a lot of the old guard, TNA would have probably shined.
Right. I get bored sometimes, and I go back and I watch some old school TNA stuff on YouTube and stuff. And those of you, if you don't have it, I'll throw it out there. Download the Pluto TV app. They have a Impact Wrestling channel. It's not the greatest, but you want to watch some old school freaking TNA stuff? Man, that's your shit right there. Because
Impact is actually on the rise. I actually like Impact. I think that Impact has a lot of heart. Do they have the star power to go with it? No, but I mean, again, the WWF didn't either. Until you got one wrestler that really transcended everything, and then you kind of built off the back of them.
Right.
But I mean, there's no more territory anymore. Like you were talking about at the beginning. It used to be a time that everybody could wrestle everywhere. If you were in Tennessee, you were going to wrestle for this organization. If you went to Raleigh, North Carolina, there was another organization down there. People would get in their cars and wrestle everywhere. Now it's just sign a contract and go.
Right. Speaking of the territorial days, something that kind of reminded me of that is here where I'm at, one of our local indie wrestling scenes called Magnum Pro Wrestling. They're actually really good, surprisingly. They actually have your current NWA Heavyweights Champion, Nick Aldis, coming to our state of Nebraska on January 16th. Hopefully, as long as he doesn't have COVID and travel, there's not that many travel restrictions for him. but he's going to defend that NWA title against one of the local wrestlers here. I doubt he's going to lose. I doubt they'll let him lose the title, but I mean, it's still cool. I mean, way to bring in, that's star power right there.
It reminds me of OVW. So when I lived down in Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
well, the first 2 times, we used to have an organization down there called OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yep, I've heard of it.
Now,
because that was
OVW, big. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So, no, that's my fault. Sorry to cut you off. OVW was the original NXT.
Right. OVW got so big because originally, like, the guy that was running a lot of the promotions out of there, like, his name was Danny Davis. He was a wrestler back in the old days.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of moved on the production. The WWE bought it as a training ground. And they sent everybody's old school favorite crazy guy from the Job Squad, Al Snow, to run the organization. So if everybody's ever wondered where Al Snow went, that's where he went. Al Snow was one of the guys to really kind of run that organization. It was like the NXT, yeah. It was the original training ground NXT. Like, you'd have dudes from all over the country, all over the state. Like, I would go to the gym in Kentucky, or I'd be down there just working out, and you'd see like at least I'd say anywhere between like 10 to 12 wrestlers there at a time that you knew by name.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you didn't know them by name, you knew them by face alone. I remember, who was it? The fucking Crybaby. And you know who I'm talking about. WWE's too hard. I'm gonna go over here to be a cage fighter. Oh, the cage fighting's too hard. I'm gonna come back to the WWE. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Talking about Punk?
Yep. CM Punk.
Yep.
He was down there training, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna really work it out, and we're gonna get some things together. And they sent CM Punk down, and CM Punk was an absolute dick to everyone. They hated him.
That's what I heard.
Like, he was probably one of the hardest dudes to work with. Because he had they gave him so much acclaim when he first came around. They were like, yeah, he's gonna take over jobs. He's gonna take over Al Snow's spot. So they let him wrestle down there for a little while, and then he came back to WWE.
I'd say, so talking a little about the NWA, have you watched or seen anything regarding ROH and New Japan, say within the last 10 years?
Yeah, I've been keeping up with New Japan off and on. Like, I remember when was it Kenny Omega, or was it Jericho who was going down there to wrestle for New Japan?
Both. No, Jericho, because Kenny was already there.
Yeah, so I remember when Jericho and Kenny Omega had a match in New Japan.
Yeah, at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, and I was sitting down, and I was like, how the hell are you getting Jericho and Kenny Omega to have a match, and then the WWE released Jericho? And I was like, that's what happened. Okay, so he's just airwalking right from one venue to another, pretty much in a matter of weeks. And I was like, that's pretty epic. I mean, because it was a good match. Kenny Omega is probably one of the most talented wrestlers, and he deserves his status in New Japan Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
I mean, between him, Rainmaker, there's a couple of other guys out there.
Bushi.
Yeah. They're actually very talented. They've got a lot of really great wrestlers. I think they kept it more wrestling and less
promo and that's the other thing with New Japan, and I think AAA. I don't watch a lot of AAA, so that's on me. Whatever. I haven't seen a lot of New Japan in the recent years. I kind of still know what's going on over there, but when I used to have Sling TV. I don't anymore. I switched over to Hulu, but Sling TV had the Access TV channel, and you could watch New Japan on that channel. And now you can watch Impact on that channel. So it's like, okay, I could, but watching New Japan, when you get stuck like I do, and then the only thing you know about is WWE, and granted it's the WWE, but what do they constantly have? They constantly have something going. New Japan's not like that. They'll have matches, but it's not like a TV thing where it's like this week on Raw, you got AJ facing like The Miz for #1 contendership, and then the next week, okay, AJ won the match, so he's just going to be talking shit to Drew until the pay-per-view. So you can follow that story beat. With New Japan, it's these guys are fighting for the titles, and then if you watch it like the following week, it's like a whole different show from the past 3 weeks. So it's like it was hard for me to keep up with that.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, this was the problem with old wrestling back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Like, when I say 90, or let me correct myself, like right before, and this there's a line in wrestling that we all know, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna know this when I talk about it. But there's a line in wrestling that changed everything. That changed the whole game. And that was the Montreal Screwjob.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kick-started what everybody would consider the Monday Night Wars. But prior to that, it was just strictly wrestling. Like, you'd have some light story arcs, but it was strictly just matches. You'd have some light banter. You'd have people cutting promos and things like that. This was like back when Scott Steiner wasn't, before he became the Freak. This was Scott Steiner alongside. He was still trailing behind like Rick Steiner.
Yeah, I'm saying because didn't he have his brother with him?
Yeah, he was. It was the Steiner brothers
right
back in the old days.
Right. Because
so you had that going on. You never really had like that weird like branching story arc kind of thing, like what was written for the WWE or WWF in the early the late 90s, or I'd say the early to late 90s, because what was that? The Montreal Screwjob was what? Right before DX.
Right.
Like immediately right before DX. Like DX really showed up right around 2 to 3 months after Brett left.
Right.
So Brett left the WWF. He was kind of the last bastion of that regular wrestling style, the stuff that you see out of New Japan.
Yeah.
They're still on that page where it's all about the wrestling.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch good matches, New Japan is it. But if you want to watch like that, you want to get emotionally invested in the match where it's this big build up, The Miz and let's just say The Miz and I don't know, John Cena get into it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a dust up. A couple of weeks later, John Cena's in the middle of a title match on Monday Night Raw, which if he's having a match on Monday Night Raw for a championship, damn well something happens. It's by the numbers at this point. Once that happens, then the build up, and then they're going to be fighting at whatever venue's coming up next, be it SummerSlam, be it WrestleMania,
right.
be it Royal Rumble, one of the two, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it had that rolling, building story that kind of pushes the match. And I think the actually was it somebody else tried to UFC tried to emulate what WWE does, where they had that rolling kind of competition, bluster dust up arc thing.
Huh.
It's just New Japan is like way far in the weeds away from it.
Right.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it to be negative, but if you want to watch good matches, you just want to watch wrestling at its prime, or just wrestling as a general thing, you just want to watch that competition, New Japan's it.
Oh yeah,
You want to watch something else? And you're in. I'd say probably Impact would probably be the first to really have something good.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
AEW obviously would have something good considering that they've got Moxley.
Yeah,
and Moxley really does sell a lot. He really does sell you on a wrestling match. He sells you on like a vendetta. You know what I mean?
Right. Here's my thing with Moxley. So I never saw him in CZW. Did you ever catch any of that stuff?
No. I didn't even catch Moxley until he was wrestling for the WWE.
Okay, because that's when I first caught him, when he was with the Shield with Roman and Seth.
Yeah.
And then,
well, I caught him before that. Like, I was watching still when Roman and Seth came along. Dear Lord, Roman's fucking reign. we'll get into that later.
But my main thing with Moxley, so when he joined AEW, I was like, all right, cool. That's cool. More money for them because, he's a big name going to a new company. Kind of like when Jericho joined them and shit. But maybe because it could be because he's a little bit older, but to me, I didn't see his stuff on the indies. So all I know him from is WWE. And the way he worked his WWE matches compared to the way he works in AEW, completely different.
Oh yeah. Like, the WWE has a way of handling things where if you watch a WWE match in I'd say in like anywhere between 2013 to 2020, right?
Right.
They are formulaic. They are by the numbers. You think that you're watching something that's not happening. Like it's a mirage. They use a lot of the old techniques like they used back in Monday Night Raw to really kind of sell you on something that's not happening. And the problem with it is that in that way that they handle the storylines and the way they kind of pigeonhole people, they really took a lot of the steam out of him. Like, it's a different match for him in AEW than it is in WWE because he is just so high intensity over in AEW that you would think that you were watching a different guy.
Gotcha.
Like, he is all over the place. He is on you. It is a brutal match. And that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people want to come for.
Yeah, because, like, watching him in the WWE, it seemed like he was more, okay, I can't... He seemed more like he wasn't trying, like, he wasn't gassed out, so to speak, because in AEW, to me, he seems more like he's not really gassed out, but just his technique looks more slow and exhausting. Yeah, where
he's putting in a whole lot more work in the WWE versus what he was doing with that. Don't even get me fucking started with that weird. I bound off of the ropes and clothesline you garbage. It was like that was as exciting as a Hulkamania leg drop. Like, there's nothing. Yes, it's iconic. Yes, we know what it is, but there's nothing exciting about it. He just didn't seem excited. His character seemed dry. It's kind of like he would just get beat up a lot, and then like he'd stick it out at the end. Like I think it was him and Rollins.
Yeah.
When they were tag teaming together, taking on the Bar.
Yeah.
It was like these dudes are just absolutely just sad.
Right.
And I don't know how to feel about Seth Rollins, but I know how I felt about Moxley when he was still in the WWE, and I felt like he could do so much better. But and when he left to go to AEW, I was actually surprised his first 3 matches. I was like, dear Lord, is this the same guy?
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. I'm like, he is working like
10 times harder.
Yeah, but I get it. It's because he's crafting a different he's back to his origins, so to speak. Is he's back to the way he was on the Indies, and he said that in a podcast he did with the AEW on the AEW podcast. Is he said he's like, working here, I can be myself. Where when I was
I remember that podcast. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because he was like, when I was with WWE, they wanted me to do this, they wanted me to do that, and okay, yeah, I was making good money, so I'm going to tell him no if I didn't feel comfortable with something, but for the most part, I did it. But I'm like, man, he seems
it's like
more
the T.J. Perkins effect. That's what I call it. Like, have you seen T.J. Perkins outside of the WWE?
Once I saw him once in an Impact match. Apparently, he's manic again.
But I like that manic T.J. Perkins. Manic T.J. Perkins is what he should have been from the start.
Right.
They did this, like, I'm a cool gamer dude, T.J. Perkins, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's why T.J. Perkins faded.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for, God, what was he's like a flying Brian Pillman wannabe. That was part of the 205 Live group.
There's so many of them.
Oh no, this guy he looked pretty old. Like he was actually wrestling for WCW back in the old days.
Oh shit.
Give me 2 seconds. Let me remember.
No, that's not a problem. Yeah, I'm stumped.
Brian Kendrick.
Okay, Kendrick.
Yeah.
God, would have way over my head.
Yeah, Brian Kendrick is like Brian Kendrick has been wrestling for years. Like he has been wrestling since WCW, and he's got the chops to show it. Like I mean, if you watched him in a match, they dumbed him down a whole lot, but he was on a Dean Malenko level for a while. Like he was a man of 1,000 moves. Like he could really get in. Yeah, he'd have one move he was gonna roll you into.
Right.
But to watch him work, it's almost like watching a fly get caught in a spider's web, and the more that it moves, the more that it's gonna get caught. That's how Brian Kendrick had always wrestled, and he still does it from time to time. But T.J. Perkins and him in a match, they looked awkward because you could see that T.J. Perkins was slowed down. Like you could see that he was kind of being reduced a little bit, and that's what happens. But yeah, the WWE has a tendency to kind of take it out of people. Like they change them however they want to change them.
Gotcha. Because we're talking about the Cruiserweights real quick, did you ever watch any of the Cruiserweight Classic that they did in, what was that, 2016, I think?
Yeah.
So I got a buddy of ours to watch a match with me because that match was phenomenal. And it was Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander.
Oh man, Cedric Alexander's a talented dude. Like,
I know.
He has no ability to cut a promo for shit.
He's getting better now.
Well, I mean, I would hope so. But he was the kind of dude that literally you could see him in the ring and he would put in major work.
Oh yeah.
Like, I watched him in 205 Live was actually one of the things I actually enjoyed watching. Don't get me wrong, like Triple H, well, that's Vince's show. Vince would restrain all of these new guys who could really fly, who could really move, who could really do some real damage. And they turned them all into Drew Gulak.
Yeah. Which I like Drew Gulak. I think he's really good. He's a good mat-based wrestler.
He's an old guard. He wrestles like an old guard. Like he wrestles like a dude from like the 90s. Like again, he's got that Malenko style, but he's got the weight class ability.
Right, and he's got the comedy aspect behind him too.
Right. I mean, I never took him as funny.
Me neither.
I think Enzo Amore opened that door, but that's whatever.
Yeah,
But
because
Gulak is he's got the chops to really wrestle.
yeah, I don't know if you saw this past year he had a match with Daniel Bryan at Elimination Chamber, and damn, it was a good match.
Well, I've been out of the loop for a while. Like I think I dropped off right around like 2016.
2016. Okay, and there's some matches we need to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down to watch them. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm always still interested in wrestling stuff. I mean, I still play wrestling games. I still get interested in wrestling information. I still get
Right.
interested in some good matches when people mention them. But I gotta be fair. If it comes from the WWE, it's the WWE kind of raised me on wrestling, and then it soured me on it, all in a 20-year span.
Gotcha. Because part of me, main reason I'm still with the WWE mainly is because honestly, and I've been with it so long. I mean, it's just nature to me now. And people are like, so you revolve your life around it. I go, no. If I miss a show, I miss a show. It's not that bad. But now with technology, I can watch it anytime I want to, and that's what I do. It's like, do I get mad if I don't watch it? Yeah, because I look forward to watching it. I actually still find the entertainment aspect of it really good, and I still enjoy some of the stuff, but I also like to, well, what we're doing now, I like to talk about it. I like to, put my opinion out there, and you never know. If they're listening, they're like, okay, well, this is what this guy says. Let's work on that. I doubt it, but you never know.
Right.
Hindsight's 2020, whatever. So, did that. So, let's say we've been talking for about an hour and a half now, almost. So, it's been fun. We'll do a few more things, and then, I mean, we can come back to this at any time we want, honestly. But, for the last 10 minutes of this show, what would be your top 5? We'll say top 6. Your one female favorite wrestler, and then just your top 5 guys of all time, basically.
I gotta be honest. There have not been very many female wrestlers that really stuck it out to me over the years. I'd say that there are quite a few that I would really give like that honorable mention to. Kairi Sane, really good wrestler. I think she is probably up there with Asuka. Asuka is probably in that same realm.
Oh yeah,
like good female wrestlers.
Yeah, a good buddy of ours over at Full Screen Boss Fight, Spiracy, that's his girl.
Which one, Asuka or Kairi?
Asuka.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kairi a little bit better as a wrestler. She's got that energy.
Right.
That's really lacking in the female division.
Right. But I think she's younger too. I think she's just hit 30, and where Asuka, damn sure,
like in her early 20s.
Yeah, I'm saying, and Asuka's up there. I think she's 35, 36.
Yeah, she's been wrestling a while.
Oh yeah.
Like I watched her before she made it to the WWE, and she was really up there. But she's got that. If you watch her, she's got that New Japan style of wrestling.
Right. That mentality of just do it, kind of.
Yeah, do it and get it done, and we just move on. Sasha Banks would be okay if she didn't botch shit up.
Yeah,
like
she's one of them I'm
on the fence about.
Yeah, never really.
Sasha Banks has always been on the fence to me. Like immediately when she got in there, like she was like the first wave of female wrestlers that was given like a real. I'm not talking like Sable. I'm thinking more on lines of like a Lita.
Okay.
Kind of thing. It's just that unfortunately Lita didn't have anybody to wrestle with.
That's true.
I think Mickie James was the closest.
Yeah, Mickie, and a lot of people say Trish.
Yeah, Trish actually could hold her own. Uh, but I'd say if you're gonna go with probably like my top female wrestler, I'm really gonna have to go with. Gonna suck for me to throw this one out there, but I'm gonna have to go with Mickey James on this one.
Okay.
I mean, because Mickey's got the career to show it. Like she was one of the first real heavy. She wrestled like a heavyweight wrestler, and she let you know it. And
Yeah.
she had the skills, and she's really put in the work. Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's got much, and I hate to say that, but I don't think that she's gonna be there for any more than maybe like another 5, maybe 8 years at
Yeah.
maximum, and then it's gonna bow out trying to think of who else I could think of. The Glamazon.
Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix. He's gonna take a Beth Phoenix.
Just go to commentary or something.
Yeah, I mean WWE, WCW, for all its shit and all the things it got wrong, I can say that WCW had the most comprehensive women's league that I'd ever seen.
Yeah, and I didn't see much when I watched WCW. I didn't see much women stuff going on.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like a bra and panties match shit over at the WWE.
Right.
You know, they actually let the women wrestle. That's where Beth Phoenix was putting in work at. So you had women's matches. They were dark matches.
Yeah.
So you may get 1 or 2 that weren't dark during like intermissions at like main events. You know, Beth Phoenix beating the shit out of some random broad. But for the most part, like you didn't get a lot of. Actually, you know what? Jacqueline was another one. She came over from WCW.
Yeah.
She was actually in the women's division over in WCW. She was putting in major work over there too. So that's why the WCW is so far ahead, because they had all of these old guard that that basically showed women how to wrestle a different way. Unfortunately, none of these motherfuckers could teach Nia Jax.
Which is strange and confusing because she's The Rock's cousin. You'd think The Rock or Roman
Don't even get
or
me started
Usos
on the fucking Samoa connection, dude. Look, this
or
is
Naomi.
what also killed me on the WC on the whole wrestling bit as it is. Like The Rock is one dude, okay?
Right.
And he's an exception to a lot of rules. Roman Reigns is not that guy. Roman Reigns is an absolutely decent wrestler with a shitty mic style. You cannot cut a promo with Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns is going to fuck it up.
Okay.
Nia Jax does not have the in-ring ability to at least be a Roman Reigns, and she can't do either.
Oh man.
It's like being black and fucking up chicken and watermelon. How the hell do you do this and call yourself any type of color? My thing is that as a black man, I can make that joke. But the reality is that Nia Jax comes from a wrestling dynasty, but can't wrestle and can't cut a fucking promo.
She can't. At least Roman now he's gotten better. He's gotten a lot better.
He's passable.
But Nia, no.
Like somebody took him to a hooked on phonics class to get him back in the game. Like, to get Roman Reigns able to actually talk to people.
Right.
It's like, what are you thinking about, Roman? Steak. And it's like, what the... Give me something, Roman. Give me something to work with.
Right now they got him with Paul Heyman, so you know Paul's giving him...
Well, yeah, that means basically they're treating him like they treated Brock Lesnar. Mm-hmm. This man is a mute.
Yep.
And he can't talk for himself. Like, Brock Lesnar... Oh, they should never give that man the microphone, but if they do, I would love to be in attendance. He says some diabolical shit.
Well, here's another funny thing, too. It's my main thing. So, Brock Lesnar, you could just tell by his presence. Okay, yeah, you don't need to give that man a mic. Because if you put him with somebody smaller, like Paul Heyman, who can talk him up and then he can deliver that level. Same thing, in my opinion, with one of my favorite guys, Bobby Lashley. A lot of people talk shit about Bobby Lashley, but that guy he's a beast, man. He can do it.
No. See, you got to understand something. This is the reason I say this. Brock Lesnar's a special case. There's a reason why I say this. They put him with Heyman for one reason. He is allowed to talk because he can stay on that PG-13 wave.
That's true. That's a good point.
Brock Lesnar, if you allow him to talk, talks like Mike Tyson when he was talking about stomping on children's testicles. Like, he says some fucked up shit. Like, I heard him, like, you know, there's moments in the WWE when they're like, you know, wrestling around and shit, and you could see what they're saying, or you could technically hear it if the mic is close enough. Like, he says some awful shit. And I'm like, dude, you're on television. You can't say that aloud. I'm sure the people in the arena were like, what the hell did he just say? Like, if you're in that front row section, they're like, oh, dear God. Like, he drops a lot of awful things. And that's the reason why they had him with Heyman. Heyman was the guy that could cut a promo with him and not let him talk, so that way he doesn't say anything awful on national television.
Right.
So that's the reason why they had him with Paul Heyman. Just a little FYI for you.
Gotcha. Well, what was Bobby Lashley's excuse then? Because they didn't put him with a mouthpiece until this year.
Well, I mean, Bobby Lashley just doesn't have he didn't have the ability to cut a promo, really. Like, these are all guys that can't cut a promo for shit.
Right, and why should he? Just look at him. He's, 6'2", 340-pound freaking meathead.
Oh, so you're just going to go ahead and give him the Rhino excuse?
Exactly.
or what was the other guy? The other guy who was actually, I actually saw him in an interview. He's very articulate. He's very smart. What was it? The Feed Me More guy?
Oh, Ryback
and Rhino. Ryback less than Rhino. Rhino can't talk for shit. That's why they need to give him a mouthpiece. Ryback is actually very smart. He just played a character because he's got that meathead look.
Gotcha.
But Ryback is very intelligent. He knew what he was worth and he left. So that's the reason why you saw Ryback just up and leave, because Ryback was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just as smart presenting as a Samuel Gotch. Why won't they give me more character development?
Right, instead of just a muscle-bound dum-dum.
Yeah. So he's like, if I can't get any character development, I don't fulfill here. I can go anywhere and wrestle. So, I mean, but then again, you've got, again, can't teach Nia Jax how to talk or wrestle. Don't give that woman a baby, she'll drop it.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's the joke.
Again, I like Nia Jax. Okay, I'm just going to tell you a little secret, right?
All right, I'm listening.
So I saw Nia Jax before Nia Jax became Nia Jax. When she smiled and was happy, I was like, she's kind of cute. She's a big girl. She's shaped like a pear. She's kind of cute.
Right.
And then when she did this mean, scowling, I'm a wrestler now face, I'm like, dude, you were a fucking underwear model like just 3 years ago. You were modeling clothes for Lane Bryant. Can we stop with the act here?
Yeah, she couldn't even beat Bayley.
What she did to Bayley and what she did to Sasha Banks should be a fucking war crime. Like, she actually did hurt Bayley twice.
Oh no, it was well, that one I didn't know about, but I know she hurt Kairi Sane too.
Yeah, she hurt Kairi Sane. She hurt Bayley. She hurt Sasha Banks. Like, Sasha Banks got hit so hard that it busted her mouth open.
Oh. And
was bleeding from the mouth in the middle of the match.
Okay.
Yeah, like Sasha Banks couldn't talk because she was talking, and then they had to cut the mic away real quick, but they didn't catch it. Nia Jax hit her with her shoulder so hard that literally you could see blood in her mouth.
Damn.
And it wasn't like that whole, like, back in the old days, like, got a piece of glass, you cut your forehead, oh my God,
right.
Bleeding up.
Right, where
no,
you did.
She was bleeding legitimately from the mouth, like she got punched.
Right.
Like some domestic abuse shit. Like, I was very surprised that they didn't catch it. until they caught it, and she was spitting out blood, and they're just like, oh yeah,
she's
spitting out
good.
blood. No, she's really spitting out blood. And she hurt. If you go back and watch some of the matches between Nia Jax and Bailey, there was a couple of times where she threw Bailey by the arm like a rag doll.
Yeah, I remember those.
You could see like Bailey's arm bend into a position that it shouldn't, and then Bailey's nursing that arm the rest of the match. Like, that's not like, oh yeah, the whole like, kayfabe bullshit. No. There is a legitimate thing where she injured Bailey so bad that she had to actually cancel on the next night. Damn. So yeah, if you're going to let this, you're gonna let this potato-shaped woman beat your wrestlers, your good wrestlers, into submission. That should be a punishment. That should be a real punishment. Like, okay, well, you fucked up the last match, so you're gonna have to wrestle Nia Jax. Damn it. That's how you punish your employees.
Right. I'll take that count out loss.
Yeah, you know what? I'll just go ahead and sit out. I'll sit out here the whole time.
I'll grab a chair and beat her. I'll win. I'll lose by DQ.
The only other wrestler that I would say that I actually would give another female wrestler that I give a commendable, I liked. She was the one that was following around Ric Flair's daughter for a while. It was the three of them. It was Ric Flair's daughter. It was
Paige and Becky Lynch.
It wasn't Becky Lynch because her matches went really bad. They really hurt her. Like, Becky Lynch actually was a very good wrestler. It's just that they took a lot of fire out of Becky Lynch, no pun intended. Like, they let her lose a whole bunch, and I didn't like that. Yeah, same. When they called her up to main, who's the other one with Charlotte then? I think it was Paige. No, it wasn't Paige. We all know about Paige. Yeah. Then Creed could tell you about Paige. I know, right? Yeah. Taking Natalia, maybe? No, not Natalia. Alexa Bliss? I can't think of anybody else with Charlotte. Rhea Ripley around WrestleMania this year. It's the only other one I can think of. Let me think. Yeah, there's a couple of females that were running with Charlotte or back in the old days, like way back. Yeah, it'll come to mind at some point. But yeah, she was. I would say that probably her. That would probably be one of the wrestlers that I was a big fan of. Gotcha. No, it wasn't Summer. Yeah, it'll hit me before the end of the. It'll hit me before the end of the match. I'm going back. I'm kind of looking through the old roster a little bit. Gotcha. But yeah, we can keep going. If you're thinking about probably my top 5 male wrestlers, it's Dana Brooke. Oh, Brooke. Okay. Yeah. Dana Brooke. She had a lot of. Actually, she was really, really talented. It just they really kind of held her back again. Yeah, they're kind of pushing her more out now. With this Mandy Rose chick, their team name are the Sexy Muscle Friends. Yeah. I don't like the name because I'm like, that doesn't work for women. This is a Vince thing, right? Yeah. Oh, I know. Natalia, I would probably be up there, but I fucking hate Natalia. Like, I was like, oh, she's a heart. Oh, that's cool. But they didn't do shit. She's a Neidhart. Oh, never mind.
She just needs to come to the ring with an anvil and just drop it on people.
Pretty much. That would be in character for the family.
Right, it would make sense.
But yeah, if you're gonna go with male wrestlers, man, I mean, where do you want to? I mean, do I have a limit? Is my question.
Honestly, no. But whoever your number one, hands down favorite of all time, you gotta have one for your favorite of all time though. Only one.
It would have. See, I can't give you just one because it's two.
See,
If you're gonna go with that, it has to be one of the two, and I can't change them out. Unfortunately, right. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock.
Right.
I mean,
okay,
one failed, the other one kind of began. You know.
Right, right. They were the yin to the yangs, basically. Okay.
Right. You had they had like 9 matches.
Right.
No, they had more than 9 matches, but they had like 9 5-star matches.
Yeah. Which
you don't get out of very many wrestlers.
No, God no.
Like this was during the Nation of Domination. This was post Nation of Domination. All the matches, all the way up until Stone Cold had the neck injury.
Yep.
After that, that was just no.
So, speaking of the Stone Cold neck injury, I did read JR's newest book that came out this year, Under the Black Hat.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you wondering, yes, I really don't read books, but I saw it. I thought it'd be a good read. I picked it up. I read it cover to cover, honestly, front to back. Read every word in that book. He was talking about when he went to do WrestleMania 19, when he's talking with Stone Cold, because how him and Stone Cold became friends. You know, that was a little bit in there. But he was talking about Stone Cold, and Stone Cold told him, was like, hey, man, because at the time he was in charge of talent relations, and WrestleMania was coming up, and he was talking to Steve about what he wanted to do. And Steve was like, well, with my neck, I kind of want to just retire from in the ring. And he was like, okay, well, what do you got in mind? He was like, well, I think I'll give it to The Rock. And he was like, okay, sure. He's like, well, he gave it to me all these years, so I'll let him get one. Because that's how The Rock won at WrestleMania 19, is Stone Cold wanted him going over, because The Rock let Stone Cold go over at 15 and 17. So he's like, you know, and what better way to send off, because we know The Rock was going out. Stone Cold's going to be gone, because we know he can't do it anymore. He's getting too old and his body's starting to wear down. So why not?
I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been around since the fucking Hollywood Blondes.
I know, right?
Early 90s shit, like when Stone Cold Steve Austin had hair.
Yeah. Imagine that, folks. Stone Cold Steve Austin with hair.
He had a head full of blonde hair, and he dressed like he dressed in the same kind of energy as Fandango.
Yeah.
That was the Hollywood Blondes. Like, it was him, and basically he was like the Morrison of his day.
Yep.
Which is weird.
Yep.
Whatever.
But no, I actually found that cool that it was Stone Cold's decision to let The Rock beat him, and I was like,
yeah.
I was like, okay, well, that was cool, because everybody was hoping Stone Cold would take 3-0, but come on.
He didn't have it in him. You could tell he didn't have it in him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was struggling.
But I do love the fact, I remember watching that Raw the night after that happened. Remember The Rock came out, cutting a promo of their match, and he was like, Stone Cold put up a hell of a fight. Because it didn't take 1, it didn't take 2, it took 3 rock bottoms to put that SOB down. So, you know, like, playing it up, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. That was cool. So,
I think that he put The Rock's career on
the map.
I don't think he put it on the map. I think he really kind of circled it. Like, his career had been on the map for years. Like, you know, the Rock and Saw connection and all the stuff the Rock had done to their, basically the silk shirt Rock all the way up, and like the People's Champ Rock. You know, I think that he had already kind of blazed his own trail. I think that was just the beginning of one story, and it was the end of Stone Cold's story and the beginning of The Rock's, and it really kind of let The Rock shine on his own. because that rivalry had followed The Rock for years.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, this was the first time that he really kind of stood on his own as the icon of the WWE.
Right.
And you couldn't find another guy. That's why I can't separate the two, because those two guys are really what changed the game for the WWE, what really won them the Monday Night Wars. And you can't take them away from each other, because literally they're one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because without Stone Cold having somebody to actually kind of push him, because you remember Stone Cold at the beginning when he was hiding in fucking hospital beds and beating up Vince McMahon every time.
Right. Right.
Or this is still my favorite thing that I've ever watched in the history of wrestling. Was that they had Booker T in a fucking supermarket.
Yeah, the supermarket beatdown.
Yeah, he was cracking eggs over his head and pouring milk all over him.
Yep.
He was like, I'm gonna make you an omelet. I was like, this is wrong. This is funny, but this is wrong.
Throwing them in the fucking, I think he threw them in the fridge, like the
he
the
locked
cooler
him in the fridge.
Yeah.
He threw him head first into the fridge door and then just left him in the fridge.
And then at the checkout, didn't he like put him on the conveyor belt to go down or some shit? It's been a while since I've seen that, but
yeah, he put him in. He took him to the checkout line.
That's right. He put him in the shopping cart. Will.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go ahead and get us wrung out. We're gonna leave. And Stone Cold, I mean, he was the extreme guy. Like, he was like what made the WWE interesting, because you never found a character like that. And then The Rock came along and he cut promos like nobody's business.
Oh yeah.
You know, coming out to sing Christmas songs for the kids, talking about Wu-Tang pie and shit. And I'm like, only in that era could you get away with that. Like, I think I saw The Rock, and this is what changed this is what really kind of ruined me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this. So, the New Day were sitting around talking about how they were better than, they want to bring back Raw, and they're going to do it right. You know, talking about, like, you know, the Raw is War days during the Monday Night War.
Mm-hmm.
So The Rock comes out. Now, The Rock doesn't look like The Rock from, like, 1993. He doesn't look like The Rock from 2001. He doesn't look like The Rock from any of those eras. And he comes out and he wrestles the New Day, and it looks so struggle. Like, there's no other word to describe but struggle. Like, he gives Big E the rock bottom, but you can see Big E's kind of giving him a little bit of help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see him give a rock bottom to all three of the New Day, and it's just like, you're helping the old man. How sad.
Right. No,
I felt so bad. I was like, Jesus, dude, this was my hero, and you're reducing him to this.
No, I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah, I'll send you the clip, because I remember I've seen the clip a couple of times.
Because the last person I remember him rock bottoming was Eric Rowan at WrestleMania.
Well, this was like cutting a promo, basically.
Right. No, I know what you mean, but that was the last person I remember him hitting a rock bottom on.
Yeah, it just looked sad. It really did. It looked really sad. It looked dry. It looked like... It's almost like, you know, you had some type of, like, you know, like the sound guy come help Hacksaw and Jim Duggan smack someone with a piece of wood. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It was like... It just felt bad, and it didn't feel like, you know, you were watching The Rock. You felt like you were watching The Rock stand-in, you know. And I just like, dude, come on, man, this is just a joke.
Come on, son.
And that's how I knew it was over. That's what sealed the deal for me to kind of give up on just watching wrestling. Like, you had to go this far just to sell this new venture that Vince has got going on. You know, I don't know what to tell you. I know Rock's got, like, what? His contract was 10 events a year.
Right.
And then they took it over. They had him, like, do something else. But
yeah.
We know that kind of... I think he bought his way out of the contract.
He basically did, because he hasn't done anything. He hasn't shown up on Raw or SmackDown. Or wait, he showed up on SmackDown last year when they moved over to Fox. He showed up, came out, was cutting a promo. Baron Corbin interrupted him. Sorry, he was cutting a promo. Becky Lynch interrupted him, and then Baron Corbin interrupted them, and then they somehow had a match where they basically just beat the crap out of Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin is one of those guys that's just, I don't know, man. He comes across like one of those guys you'd see back in the old days, but he just doesn't have that same energy.
Yeah.
And he just kind of looks sad. Like, he's out of place. Like, Baron Corbin, I really liked him when he first came out because he just seemed like a brutal wrestler.
Right. A lone wolf, like, you can kind of see that. Like, he didn't need anybody. He's his own man. And now they got him with people, and it's like, dude, come on. What are you doing?
I mean, even before the whole lone wolf thing, like, Baron Corbin, like, in his first initial, like, Baron Corbin was still in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually pretty decent. Like, he was really, really good. Again, and then they got him mainline, and just like everybody else, they're like, oh yeah, so we're gonna pay you a whole bunch of money, but we're gonna take away every one of your gimmicks that made you you. Like the vaudevillains.
Oh yeah, I actually kind of like them.
Like Simon and Gotch, they when you watch them wrestle outside of the WWE, they were magic.
Oh yeah, I saw Simon Gotch wrestle ROH match once, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, he put you through the ringer.
I know, and I was like, "Where was this?" Like, this guy's great. Granted, I enjoyed the vaudevillains. I thought they were actually pretty cool. Just because it was
even as a tag duo, they were lackluster.
Right.
They were like high praise. It's kind of like the Ascension.
Yeah.
The Ascension are like high energy jobbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never seen anyone lose that much, put on that much face paint.
Yeah, no shit.
Like the Brooklyn Brawler looked like he rolled out of fucking garbage cans and jobbed pretty hard.
Right.
These guys put on elaborate costumes. They have like theme music and face paint.
Right.
And they come out to blues. And I'm like, Jesus, you lost the Fandango. Quit now.
Yeah. Definitely.
Or what was the tag team? It was even the dude looked like a male stripper.
Breezango.
It was Fandango and somebody else.
Was it Tyler Breeze?
Yeah, it was Breeze Tango.
Yeah, Breezango. Yep.
I was
they're
like,
doing good now because they're back in.
If you lost to Breeze Tango, you should quit. This is not the life for you. Go work a loading job, Dad. Go load freight. That's what you need to do. UPS is hiring. Don't come down here anymore.
All right, so better question or better list. Excluding The Rock and Stone Cold, who's in your top 5?
If we're gonna exclude those guys, I'd have to say young Razor Ramon.
Okay.
I would say probably Rey Mysterio Jr. in his youth.
Yeah.
Weird flex, but I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna count the Hardy Boys as one.
As one. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean they're the Hardy Boys.
Right.
Jeff and Matt don't do well without each other.
It's honestly true.
I'd have to say Rude would be one of them.
Rick Rude or Robert Rude?
Robert Roode.
Bobby Roode?
Yeah, Robbie Roode, he's got a lot of talent.
The glorious one, in other words?
Yeah, the glorious one is actually good. I really thought he was very talented. I would have said AJ Styles, but Roode took his spot. I'm sorry. And this one's kind of a joke one, but I really liked this guy when I was a kid. Don't even ask me why. His move has been stolen over 100,000 times. Michinoku.
Oh, Taka Michinoku.
Yeah,
Yeah.
took they took the Takamichinoku driver away from Takamichinoku.
Yeah, it's
I was like, how the fuck did you keep stealing his driver, but you won't let him work for the WWE?
right. Oh man, remember him and Funaki as Kaientai?
Oh yes,
Uh,
dude, that
tried
was a great tag team. But the Michinoku driver could put you in a fucking hospital.
Oh
I
yeah.
swear to like it drops you. It's like an inverted Falcon's arrow that drops you on your neck.
Oh yeah, great move.
And I was like, this is beautiful. I don't know. He's the only guy that I've ever seen pull it off right. Everybody else that's ever done it is dead awful.
Well, yeah,
And I will give I'll give an honorable mention to one man, and that is. Well, no, I take that back. That was a joke for Takamichi Noku. It's Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is my dude. But in reality, like the only honorable mention that I can give would have to be Takamichi Noku, and the only other one that I will ever give is John Cena. Not never give up John Cena. I'm talking Thugonomics.
Dr. Thugonomics, John Cena.
Yes.
Okay, face or heel Thugonomics, John Cena?
We're talking heel thugging John Cena freestyling before every fight.
They're coming out with
fucking dog chains on and beating the shit out of you. Yeah, John Cena. That guy was intimidating as shit, and he didn't look like he was roided out, like he was straight from like Vince's lair.
Okay, it's a good list. I like that list. But no, I do agree with you because I mean, I got so fucking many wrestlers who today I love, who back in the day I loved, and then some who I just like. Oh shit, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I could have probably said Shawn Michaels, but Shawn Michaels, I mean, again, he never knows when to give up. He never knows when to just stay down.
Yeah.
That watching him do a super kick at 50 just looks depressing.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
I mean, Triple H should be on that list, but Triple H doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah, like Luane says, like Triple H would lose freaking the belt at the pay-per-view. Next Monday night, he'd win it.
Yeah,
and he's like, "What the fuck's the point of that?"
Like the Stephanie McMahon arc, because I don't know if you remember this. Like there was a whole arc where he basically kidnapped her.
Yeah.
And made him love. Was it made her love him?
Basically, yeah.
I was like, this is some real Stockholm shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Because
she was engaged to who was it, Edge or somebody?
No, she was engaged to Test.
Yeah, that's who it was. It was Test. And he kidnapped her. I was like, what is this?
Got her drunk. They got her drunk at her bachelorette party, and then he was the driver, and goes through a drive-through marriage freaking thing in Vegas, and got married. That whole story arc was great, though.
It was, you know what? It was on that Val Venus level,
right?
Like only in the '90s could you have a dude come out and talking about I'm porking every woman in this locker room,
right? And then you can have the Japanese guys come out because he apparently porked one of their family members, and they bring out a giant kielbasa sausage and a sword
on stage.
Yep, and they're like, "Do it again. This is what we're gonna do to you," and chop it in half.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, "Oh no." Val Venus didn't win a lot, but when he did, it you had to know that he was going to win with a move called the money shot.
Right, and to be fair, as a kid, because I was like 8 or 9 when around that time, and it was called the money shot. Okay, I'm like, okay, money shot. It's a frog splash. I get it. He's making his money.
No.
When I got older, they're like, no, Matt, that's not what it is. I go, well, what is it? They're like, it's called this, and I'm like, why is it called that? They're like, think about it. I go, about what? Like, I didn't get it at first, and then they're like, Matt, come on, he's basically a male prostitute. His move is called the money shot because they can't call it what it is.
Yeah, only in the 90s. I mean, you had him and what was it? Damn it, I can't remember what they called him in ring. He was Kama at first, and then he became the Ho Train.
Oh, the Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, those were the days. You can't make that shit anymore.
He wasn't Kamala. He was Papa Shango.
Yeah, that's right. He was Papa Shango. I knew he was somebody weird. I was trying to remember because there's been dudes like him all over the place. There was the dude with the fucking clock around his neck.
The Boogeyman?
Yeah, the Boogeyman. I was like, what is he going to turn into?
Well, that's like with Kane. He was originally Dr. Isaac Yankem.
Yeah, I remember that.
A lot of people forget that.
The IE defeat match with Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that most of these guys have been around for a long time. You just don't know it. Like, Savio Vega was Kama. Like, you didn't know it, but he was coming out with, who was it? Hakushi?
Mm-hmm.
And he had that fucking samurai mask on. And then, like, 10 years later, no, it wasn't even 10 years, it was like 5 years later, he was coming out with the Nation of Domination. I was like, this man is built like Kama. Oh, wait, that's Kama's finishing move. Is he Kama? Oh, he is Kama.
He is Kama.
It's like seeing a Spanish dude behind the grill at Benihana's.
Right.
I was like, oh, shit, here we go.
So, speaking of the Godfather, for those of you, obviously, Bloody, you can't see it. And I don't know if I told you. I know I told Wayne about it. But I actually have a Ultimate Warrior Papa Shango double pack that I found at Target, action figures that that is fucking just awesome because it's supposed to relive one of their rivalries, which I don't recall.
I don't even think that they were ever in the same building together. Like, when the Godfather was the Godfather, he never was around the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior was like,
well, this was back in 1992. Apparently.
Oh, okay. Then that makes more sense.
Because it was before Ultimate Warrior left to go to WCW.
The second Ultimate Warrior, let's say, right?
Right.
Yeah. Everybody keeps forgetting there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
For all you wrestling fans out there that aren't in the know, the first Ultimate Warrior had a fucking stroke. Like in the middle of a match, basically. Like he finished the match, went back to the dressing room, and basically had his heart damn near explode because this man was high on shit tons of cocaine. He would wrestle on cocaine. He could not remember his matches on cocaine. So they had to get somebody who basically looked like him, had the same build, more or less. He wasn't as defined and cut as the Ultimate Warrior, but he still had the look and the design and the physique take over as the Ultimate Warrior in the 90s. And that's who the Godfather.
Yeah.
Which is so weird to tell that story because most people don't know. They're just like, oh yeah, it's the Ultimate Warrior. I'm like, no.
That's like there was 2 Kanes and 2 Diesels. Or no, two Diesels and 2 Undertakers. That's right.
Yeah, it was 2 Undertakers, and then you had Diesel. Diesel's always been Diesel, but I thought that that nuclear bomb dude was. Oh no! Diesel. I thought he was. The nuclear bomb dude was Kona Crush.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dude with the hard punch and shit.
Right. I do remember there was 2 takers at one point because I guess the Undertaker, when he came out with that like gray mask, he broke his nose, so that's why he had to wear that mask. You remember that, like mid-90s?
Yeah. I remember that that particular thing.
And then there's like a couple shows he had to miss due to surgery, and I believe they had Luke Gallows I remember correctly, beat him. But at the time,
it was Luke.
It was,
and I
okay.
remember those. Those were, you could tell it wasn't. You could tell because it was Undertaker was wearing full garb.
Yeah.
Like, he never wore full garb after the American Badass arc.
Yeah.
You knew why he didn't wear full garb.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he'd be wrestling in the middle of the summer in like 100-degree weather and still wear those long puffy sleeves.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
But no.
But no, yeah. So, my last question for you. Have you met any of the main wrestlers? Or do you have any signed wrestling memorabilia, I guess?
Well, I've taken a couple of pictures because I think I mentioned it to you. When I was living in Kentucky for the first couple of times, I was still going to not Planet Fitness. It was Urban Active.
Oh yeah, I do remember you telling me that. It was like a year or two ago. Yeah, you got to see a couple of guys coming in. Active
got a lot of. We had a lot of star sightings. Some of them were, professional wrestlers. Some of them were, let's just say, adult entertainment actors.
Yeah.
And you would know shit was breaking down because, like, people would start fangirling. And there'd be dudes that would, like, come in and you would see them, like, with weights wrapped around them and shit. Like commandos. Dudes with chains and shit on, just trying to, get to that next echelon.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing, try harding as hell. Start fangirling. So that day, I can't remember his name for the life of me off the top of my head. It was Jack
Swagger, I think you said it was?
Yeah, it was Jack Swagger. It was I can't. Again, it's been so long.
Right. Which is understandable. I mean,
there was a couple of dudes from the WWE. Some of them were in town doing training camps at OVW at the time, and they were there for like a week straight. Well, they said that 5 people were with them, and I was like, huh. So I actually I got that story, and I'll tell you another one after that. So I got to take pictures with Jack. I got to take pictures with a number of wrestlers that were there at the time. Mark Henry was in the area, but he wasn't. He was busy at the time doing something at OVW, so he wasn't going to come and work out down there. But I remember driving up there one day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a dude that's taking up the whole fucking road, just running, in shorts and no shirt, just running. I'm like, man, get your ass out of my way. I gotta go to the gym. So I get there, and I start working out, and I see all the wrestlers there. I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? Big fan. Da, da, da. I'm not like fangirling out. I'm just like, oh yeah,
just casual.
That last match. Yeah. They're like, oh, what'd you think? I was like, yeah, man. I think that was bullshit, but I know that's the writing. He was like, yeah, that was Jack actually talking. He was like, yeah, I don't always like the direction that I have to go in, but, hey, I do it. It's what the fans want. It's what the company wants. It's that kind of shit. I was like, man, I thought there were supposed to be 5 of you here today. He was like, yeah. Well, there are 5 of us, but, one of us didn't want to come in. He's doing laps around the building. I'm like, let me ask a question. Is it the dude? Was he wearing yellow shorts and no shirt? He was like, yeah, that's CM Punk. I was like, I almost hit his ass on my way in. He was like, don't tell anybody, but if you did, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't hold it against you. I kind of laughed about it, and some of the other guys kind of heard it, and they were like, yeah, we're not a fans of them either. You could see it in their facial expressions, like CM Punk. Yeah, that guy. And this was like when he was still like on his victory road back from he was getting ready to leave to go to the UFC. they sent him down to training because they basically were kind of tired of dealing with his shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Al Snow was having a time with him. So that was kind of funny. And then I was in one of my comic shops that I used to frequent way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I had been there for a while. I had stopped in a couple of times. Some of the artists, like some of the big Marvel artists, like Frank Cho, were there.
Oh, nice.
Like randomly signing shit. And I would go in and be like, "Oh, Frank Cho's here." They're like, "Yeah, man. Did you want to have him sign anything?" Like, fuck yeah! I got like 4 comics that day and had him sign that shit. One day I walked in, and I noticed a really big guy at the counter, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this guy?" And I don't see him,
Right.
but he turns around, and as he's walking out, I'm like, whoa. Let me stop for a second. I actually walk up to the counter. I'm like, is that who I think it is? And the comic book shop owner, who knows me at the time, he was like, yeah. Oh, that's Al Snow. He lives down here. I'm like, what the fuck is Al Snow doing down here? And he was like, yeah, he runs OPW. I'm like, oh. He was like, hey, Al, come down here. Yeah, I think I got a fan for you. I talked to Al Snow for like a half an hour.
Damn.
And Al Snow is probably one of the coolest guys ever. I was like, dude, I remember you, and I talked to him about a couple of matches, like him and was it the blue? I can't remember the name of that guy.
The Blue Meanie?
Yeah, the Blue Meanie. He was like, yeah, that guy is actually the nicest guy I've ever met. I was like, I kind of guessed at that. He was like, yeah. You know, it's one of those things where I didn't think I'd like him when I met him, but
Right.
I kind of did after I got to know him. I'm like, I can see that. He seems a little off base. He's like, dude, did you see me come out with a fucking doll's head? I'm like, fair enough.
That was the dude. To be fair, when he came out with freaking head, he was over as hell. At least that gimmick was, and
It
it
was
was
the most
nothing.
jarring, weird gimmick I had ever seen. Like, this was before Sister Abigail and the whole,
Right.
like,
The bright white
the
spew.
Fiend
Fiend.
thing. Yeah, this was, like, way far away from that. So that was, at the time, was, like, the weirdest shit I'd ever seen. He was like, yeah. He's like, I made my mark. I enjoyed my time in the wrestling game. He was like, I just like training, relaxing. So
Well, that's cool.
I was like, well, you know what? You ever going back to WWE? He's like, yeah, no, I don't think
Yeah.
I'm getting back in the ring in the WWE anytime soon.
I think the last time he got in the ring was fighting Mick Foley, like around 07 or 08 in the TNA Impact days.
Yeah, I watched that match. I actually watched him and Terry Funk beat the ever-loving Sawdust out of each other. In one of their, was it when he was still Cactus Jack for a little bit?
Yeah.
That was an awful match. That was a painful to watch match. It's like watching it's like a wrestling reenactment of 2 angry old men, and it frightened me a little bit because I was like, one of them is gonna die.
Right.
I was like, I don't know who it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be I don't know if it's gonna be Cactus Jack or Terry Funk, but one of them's gonna die tonight.
Right. It's me crazy shit. Yeah, man, that's fucking cool. Like, so the problem, it's not really a problem I have because I didn't. I mean, technically I did choose, but I live in Nebraska, you know, where nothing is really. And so the problem is, like, with wrestling, they're only here once every 3-4 years. So seeing a live event came around very rarely. So when it did happen, cool. But I didn't meet my first wrestler or big name wrestler until 2013. It was at
Who'd you meet?
I met Edge
Oh, cool.
at the auto
Edge is
show.
actually a really nice guy.
Oh yeah, he was cool as hell. It was 2 weeks after we had my oldest kid. My girlfriend, without me knowing, bought tickets to the auto show. So we go, and I was like, "What? Why are we going to the auto show?" She's like, "You want to meet Edge?" I go, the wrestler? She goes, well, who else do you know named Edge? I go, okay, let's go to the auto show then. Got there at like 10:30 in the morning. That line was already halfway around the loop, and I'm like, stand in line for freaking 3 hours? Sure, why the hell not?
What year was this?
To 2013.
Okay, so this is when Edge was still doing. WWE was doing that television show. He was doing a TV show at the time.
Yeah, he was doing that Haven, I think it was,
Yeah,
over on Sci-Fi Network. Yeah.
Yeah, this was right before he went back to WWE, but yeah.
Yep. But no, it was the main problem I had with the meet and greet thing though is like they were rushing you. And it's like I don't like that because it's like, you know, I want to talk to him, but I get it. He's got a limited schedule kind of thing. But it was funny because like I get up there and he was like, he's like, "Hi man, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Dude," I'm like, "I've loved you since I was a kid." He was like, just looks at me. He goes, "You are a kid." I'm like, I'm looking around like, no, I'm not. I'm like, when I say kid, I meant like when I'm before I hit the teenage years, man. I'm like, I'm in my 20s, like I'm a kid. But he was real cool, and like I was telling him how, in my opinion, he had the best spear, and he was like, really? Because everybody tells me Goldberg has the best spear. Roman wasn't full time yet. He was getting there, but I was like, no, man, your spear to me was better because you looked like you knew what you were doing, and
he sold it better.
Right, and you were able to protect your opponent, and your follow through with the sell was just fantastic. And he goes, "You're like one of the only people who has ever told me that." And I'm like, I'm a fan, like I said. And then in 2016, I met Sheamus doing a meet and greet down at Cricket Wireless. That was fun because I got to take my daughter with me, and at the time, Sheamus was feuding with Roman, I think, or shortly after that. And my daughter's favorites at the time were Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns.
Oh.
So we meet him, and for those of you watching, I'm pretty sure I've shown it to him before. I actually had my girlfriend bought me a Sheamus flag from WWE shop years ago because Sheamus he's one of my favorite wrestlers. Just he's fucking cool. He's a big guy. He knows how to work. He's Irish. You know, I just like him.
He was good even after the heel turn.
Yeah, even that face turn I thought was really. I like the way they did it. I thought it was really cool.
Wait, did he go back to a face?
He was tweener face. Him and Cesaro were faces in the bar.
Bar thing. They were mid face.
Right.
Yeah.
They've been tweening it, but right now they're kind of tweening it now with him and Drew, but he's gonna be a heel. Which I'm like, just make him a face. He can do it, but no, Drew's the face right now.
I mean, the Celtic Cross is not a face move.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Or a bicycle kick to the face.
Well, that's determinable because, you know, Booker T was a face for years.
That's true.
And
I mean,
he was a face when Harlem Heat and still bicycle kicked people in the face and scissor kicked them in the back.
Right. But no, Sheamus was cool too because when we met him, I had my flag and I had my Ultimate Warrior Sheamus fantasy match action figure set. And I showed him the flag, and I was like, "Hey, Sheamus, nice to meet you, man." I'm like, I'm a huge fan. I'm like, I got two things I'm pretty sure you didn't really sell well on the WWE shop. He goes, "Oh yeah? What two things are those?" I go, well, first of all, the shirt I'm wearing, because it says Sheamus 515, but on the back it says I just bro kick your ass. Well, it's Sheamus, so it says arse, but we all know it's ass. And he was like, "Yeah, I think I sold 5 of those." And I was like, I'm one of them. And then I had a bag with me because we waited in the line for like an hour. But I reached in the bag and I pull out the flag and kind of jaw dropped. He's like, "You bought that?" I go, "Actually, my girlfriend bought it for me." He was like, he he just took it and signed it, like, because they're like they're only signing one item per person. He just took it and signed it, and I was like, oh, okay. And then he signed my action figure and then my movie. So
I think it's the flag. That I know which flag you're talking about. The original Sheamus flag.
yeah,
Yeah. That flag did not sell well at all. But I know that was the merch that he really loved.
right. I'll say because I got that signed by him. His autograph kind of wore off on it though, but
Yeah, I mean it's going to its plastic.
it's fabric, really.
Oh no, I thought you signed the ring too.
No. You. But and then the third wrestler I got to meet was the phenomenal one. He was.
AJ Styles comes across like a dick.
He really does, but honestly he's more sarcastic than anything.
I think well, honestly, the joke around is like AJ Styles is like this. He's like a big like Christian family man.
Yeah, I know he's a huge family man because I mean because when we met him we had just had my middle child. We just had her and she was still kind of young. She was that time she was just a little over a month old, and we're sitting there talking to him and I was like, oh AJ, hey, you want to hold our new baby? He goes, yeah, you want my wife to kill me? I'm like, it's not your child. Yeah, but then she's gonna want another one, and I already have 3.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, AJ Styles, he's a weird one. Don't get me wrong, got a lot of technical ability.
Right.
But I mean, he comes across very. I think he does the heel thing very well. I don't really care for him as the heel. I kind of like him as a face.
Same. Or
he just has that face mentality, you know what I mean?
Or I like him when he's put together with Samoa Joe, because honestly, those two can fucking kill each other, and it'd be great.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Him versus Samoa Joe was probably one of my favorite matches for a while. Like Samoa Joe, that time period.
Yeah.
Of that time period, because Samoa Joe. I was watching him before he made it to the WWE.
Same. Samoa Joe, man. So, I said this in previous, I don't know if I told you, but when I first heard about TNA Impact Wrestling, I was hanging out with a buddy after school, and his brother was watching it. And he was like, yeah, guys, been watching that Impact Wrestling. I go, what the fuck is that? He was like, oh, it's this cool wrestling thing that I found on FS1. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they're only on for like an hour on like a Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm like, huh. He was like, but they got some really cool guys, and he was like, freaking Christians there. I'm like, what? I'm like,
yeah, that's where Christian landed right after the WWE. Yeah.
Yep. I was like, Christian? He was like, and Jeff Hardy? I'm like, where was this at again? He's like, oh, I'm watching it downstairs. Went downstairs. Came in right when Samoa Joe was fighting, I think, Frankie Kazarian. And, like, Samoa Joe comes out, and at that time, his theme song, and I'm just like, Samoa Joe, huh? And then, like, the fans are chanting, Joe's gonna kill you, and I'm like, and then he gets in the ring, it's like 2-minute match.
This is like 03, isn't it? Like 03,
yep.
somewhere in there?
Yep.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine. We were playing like we would do wrestling games. We play a lot of the WWE wrestling games, and it was the first time it ever went online. He was the hugest Samoa Joe fan I had ever met in my entire life. He was the dude that actually got me to watch Impact.
Nice.
And I was like, dude, why? I'm not watching any other wrestling organizations. He's like, dude, just watch it. And I watched Samoa Joe in action. I'm like, this man is a nutcase. This man is brutal.
Right.
Like, how the fuck are they letting him get away with full contact punches? Like, these are closed hand.
Right.
You can see the dude's body shift.
Yeah.
Which means he's actually hitting him. You're not like that fake, like, you know, you've seen like The Rock do the, you know, that spit in the hand.
Yeah,
you know,
the way back and then I'm gonna smack you kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's going full body blows, and the dude's body is like crumpling a little, like full weight. And I'm like, Jesus. This man's built like a fucking fridge.
Right. But he's moving.
Like, what is he gonna do to you? He doesn't even have to fight you. He can just land on you.
Right. Dude's built like a fridge, moving like a freaking
yeah, no, he's moving like a fridge on ice. Like, right. For real. Like, he moves like a fridge on ice at frightening speeds, like full decline. Like, you're running for your life. 150-pound old school fridge.
Right.
And I've never seen and him in the cocaine clutch. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I think that's probably like Bob Backlund's worst nightmare. Like it is an inversion of the Backlund the cocaine clutch is it's like a bastardized version of the crossface chicken wing.
Yep.
And he's done it the best. If anybody over the years who's ever done the chicken wing, he's done it the absolute best.
Yeah, Marty Scurll actually made that his turned that into one of his finishers, or at least his submission hold. If you know who that is.
Oh yeah.
The villain.
I think it's between Bob Backlund taught him that one, and Backlund taught he taught another guy in the WWE. He taught him the chicken wing, and he did not do it well.
Wasn't he trying to teach that to Darren Young at one point?
Yeah, that's who it was. He taught it to Darren Young, and Darren Young just did not take to it very well.
Yeah.
But then again, Darren Young's story was an awful story. It's like, So how would you like to be the second banana that nobody cared about, being trained up like some Rocky montage, and then you lose like the next 5 matches?
And then you quit, so it's all good.
Yeah, that money was well spent.
Good stuff. I will admit, the only thing I hated with Samoa Joe is I loved him in TNA, and when he came over to WWE, I was all pumped for it. He ends up beating Finn and Nakamura in NXT, gets to main roster, goes after freaking Roman and Seth, doesn't really win there. And then he goes after AJ for the title. They had 3 matches. 3. And they didn't give Joe the title.
I know. And
what the fuck?
You can tell by any other metric that Roman and Samoa Joe really don't match well.
No, they don't.
Like, I don't think on Roman's best day he could have really. If you took the script off the table and you said, okay, well, let's just see what the fans want, and we'll just run it that way. Samoa Joe would lose maybe once out of 10 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's built like an old school wrestler.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of damage, and he's got the weight, but he's also athletic, so you can see where he can just really move around a ring.
Mm-hmm.
And Roman Reigns, that's again what killed my love for wrestling was Roman Reigns standing hands down. He is like one of the bigger nails in the coffin. It's like, so Roman Reigns only has 5 moves.
Yeah.
He only had 3 for a while.
And then he upgraded.
Yeah, and they gave him the drive-by on the outside of the ring.
Yeah, the drive-by kick.
Yeah, and he used that to death.
Yeah. Well, he's got a new move now. It's some sort of, it's like a bulldog choke or something like that.
Yeah, that's what the 5th one was.
Oh, okay. So then,
that's why this man moves in dog years when it comes down to movements. Like, he had the Superman punch and the spear for like years.
It still does.
If that Superman punch is not the most telegraphed shit that anyone's ever seen. Like, don't get me wrong, AJ Styles' phenomenal forearm is telegraphed as hell.
Yeah.
But it's at least, like, he has a variation.
Yeah.
He has like 4 or 5 different variations of that move. But it's always going to end in the phenomenal forearm.
True.
When it comes down to Roman Reigns, it's stop. And then basically him just doing the 3-point stance, and then him just going for that stupid Superman punch, and he keeps winning.
Right.
I'm like, Vince, look, I understand you got a fixation on the Samoans. They are not. This guy's not The Rock. He's never gonna be The Rock. He can't sell like The Rock. No matter how hard you push him, he's never going to be The Rock. And if you keep on giving this guy all of this acclaim and pushing him as high as the sky, all you're going to do is make your real fans hate you.
I don't like they already
do. Fuck it. We're just going to go all Roman Reigns.
Right. Well,
it's like, oh, we fired Roman Reigns. Well, we got a new woman in the women's division. Her name is Romina Reigns.
It's just Roman with blonde hair and a...
Yeah, he shaved his whole face and he's wearing a wig.
Yeah. It'd be fucking hilarious.
I'm still, you know what? Again, the only other person of the Shield that I can actually say that I actually like is Seth Rollins. Moxley's gone, obviously.
Right.
I kind of like Rollins a little more. Seth Rollins, and that I love that I hate it. They took away his football kick. He gave people the punt kick.
No, Orton did the punt kick.
Well, he did the curb stomp.
The curb stomp. There you go.
Yeah, the curb stomp was actually a really interesting move.
Yep.
Like, I was like, dude.
They brought it back, but it's been downgraded
they took
slightly.
It down a notch. It was actually hurting people.
Yeah.
But it was like Del Rio's drop kick from the top rope.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you touch you up in that inverted fireman's carry.
Yep.
And then just tie you up to the ropes like at a tree of woe and then just stomp on you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that is a brutal finisher. How does one deal with that? It stepped on your chest.
Right. Why aren't you guys moving out of the fucking way?
Well, he's got you tied up in the tree of woe. You know wrestling. You know that tree of woe. If you've ever been in a wrestling ring,
I have not.
If you get tied up in those ropes, like I've been in a wrestling ring and accidentally got hit the ropes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you can easily get tangled up in those ropes. It's hard as hell to get out under your own power sometimes. Especially if you hit the ropes wrong and you get kind of bundled up in it. Like, if you go into that rope neck first, it'll disorient you. And then your bottom just sitting through the ropes. Yeah. So the Tree of Woe makes sense. But to know that he has your arms and he's pulling you up as he's putting his weight down. I saw him hit Jericho with that twice, and I was like, ooh. That does nothing good for Jericho's chest situation. He already looks like a deflated balloon. Why would you do this?
Why would you pop that thing?
Well, no, it's more like, it's like somebody pushing their hand down on a deflated balloon.
I gotcha.
It's like, oh, this is just sad. This is like a clown falling downstairs for real sad. But good times.
Right.
Good times.
Or like when the Homer killed the Krusty burglar.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Stop it. He's already dead. Oh, great stuff. All right. The final question for you, because I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
And this might be my third final question, but hey, it's my show. I'll do what I want. So,
we're fine.
In ladder matches, when they're climbing the ladder and you sit, and then the opponents climb the ladder to meet them at the top, if you've noticed, they always punch over or on the side of the rung, right? They never punch through.
Right.
I was asking my buddy about that because we were watching some TLC at work the other day on our lunch break, and I was like, wouldn't it just make more sense just punch them in the leg through the rung? And my buddy made a good point on why they don't, but I want to get your thoughts on this because I can see it, but at the same time, if you're careful, and you'll be fine. Is it because the rungs are too small together and you can hurt your hand going in and out?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be number one. Number two, it's anticlimactic because they want to have that brawl at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it quite a few times. Like Money in the Bank fights are probably the stupidest match that I've ever seen. It's like, how would you like to go go get a assured title match that you can't use for 6 to 8 weeks because you've torn a ligament in your back.
or you could use it the same day you win it, as long as it's not the main event.
Oh, I've seen that happen quite a few damn times. That's how Test won. No, not Test. It was that's how Edge won. You got the Money in the Bank, cashed that shit out the next day, and took the fucking title.
Yep.
Actually, no, he didn't. He cashed it the same night.
Kane cashed it same night.
Yeah, okay, so it was Kane that did that.
Kane and Bailey.
I remember he came out and the match had been over, and he took on, I don't know if it was Strowman or somebody he took on, like right after the match. Like, this dude is beat, tired. You could tell in his face he's just beat, red, tired, and done. And he was like, "Yep, I'm cashing it right now."
Because the cash-ins, I remember. So when they won it, Kane cashed it in on Rey Mysterio and The Undertaker after their match at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Dean Ambrose cashed in after he won it on Seth Rollins after Seth beat Roman for the belt. And then Bailey won it and cashed it in after Charlotte beat Becky after WrestleMania last year in 2019.
See, that's where I have the problem. It's always in these weird circles.
Right.
But yeah, Money in the Bank is most commonly when you're going to see that ladder.
Yeah.
So I've asked that same question, like, why don't you just reach through the damn ladder? Because a lot of you guys have the wingspan.
Right.
And just give a nice little push.
Right.
But you have to think about it. How would you? I mean, I know a lot of these guys take a lot of falls from the ladder.
Right.
But they take them in such a way that they'll land on certain corners of the map. You could tell that they're not in as much danger in certain corners as opposed to others because the camera angles at certain angles in those corners.
Yeah, definitely. And you could tell they're like, okay, well, we're gonna land here or here or here, you know.
Right, you're gonna land on the fringes of the map, and you're not gonna land like in a weird way. Because if you push a guy off the top of the ladder, he's gonna fall one way. Like,
yeah.
Usually he's gonna fall backwards. If you push a guy who's in mid rung, he can fall a couple of different ways depending on how you push him.
Right.
And he can land neck first on a rung.
Yeah. Or on a rope.
That's why they're very, very weird about, you know, making it to the top so that way they can just fall backwards.
Gotcha. However, somebody who you're not a big fan of actually did punch through the rung this past Sunday at TLC.
Let me guess, Roman Reigns?
Yep.
Yeah, I figured as much.
And he did it to Kevin Owens.
Well, here's the thing. I would expect that of Roman Reigns.
Okay.
I mean, if Nia Jax is no indication, and they come from the same bloodline,
right.
Why not just put a man out for the rest of his life?
Well, the best part, though, is I was talking about it. I watched that match. Towards the end of the match, Kevin Owens is basically hand on the belt, about to bring it down. Roman, out of nowhere, jumped like 3 rungs, punches through the in between the rungs, punched Kevin Owens in the dick. And I was like, God damn, in the dick.
See, that's a little rude.
Right.
I'm not a fan.
I don't know how hard he punched him, but like, because Kevin Owens like reached for his groin. I'm like, okay, he low blowed him because Roman's a heel right now, and he's been winning matches by low blowing people. Not blatantly low blowing, but like, oh, I'm going to set you up for like a power bomb with their head right there in between your legs. They just lift their head up. They're going to rack you.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, then again, this is not the same WWE that I remember when I was a young boy who had fucking William Regal show up with fucking brass knuckles in
his trunks. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the power of the punch is what they called it.
Yep.
It's like he can lay you up with one punch. Yeah, I'm sure that he can.
That's a loaded punch.
Reach it into his tights slowly.
Oh, it's good shit, man. Good times. Good times. But
Oh man.
oh man, Bloody, I appreciate you, brother. Been good
Oh,
having
it's
you
no
on, man.
problem. Like I said, dude, I love this sport for a number of years. Had it not been for like all the fuck ups, I'm just gonna be fair of Vince McMahon. I probably would still be a fan. I'm gonna be completely fair here and say that it was partially the cable service that I had at the time.
Mm,
I wasn't catching up. Honestly, I wasn't watching as many matches. Like I would talk to people on Twitter
right.
and we'd talk about matches and shit. And I'd watch, and then I'd kind of get bored with it, and I go do something else, and I come back, and then I stopped watching it for a couple of weeks because of work,
Hmm.
and then after a while, I just never went back.
Yeah, with me when I first started working, once I in high school I hit my teenage years, it's like they wanted me to close, and I was like, okay, I'll close, but I'm not closing on Mondays and Fridays. And they're like, why not? I go, don't worry about it. I'm not closing Monday or Friday. And they're like, well, we need you to. I go, well, too damn bad. I'm not gonna do it. And then, like, they were talking with a coworker who I was friends with outside of work because we went to school together. And they're like, hey, did Matt tell you why he needs Mondays and Fridays off? They go, well, yeah, he watches wrestling. And they just threw a big fucking fit about it. Like, okay, he watches wrestling, something that he could probably easily record and watch at any given time. Well, those are the
Man,
days.
but you want to watch that shit live, though.
Right, because if you don't watch it live, then everyone's gonna fucking spoil it.
Right. I mean,
fucking
that's happened on how many occasions where that was the other reason why I didn't. And most people were like, "Oh yeah, why don't you just record it on DVR?" I'm like, because I'm on Twitter.
Yeah. You know how hard it is for me to stay off Twitter and Facebook on a Monday night?
I'll get on Twitter. When I was first stopping to watch it because I was like, I gotta work. I would get on Twitter and I'd talk to the people and they were part of the wrestling group and they'd be like, "Man, did you see that match? So and so." I'm like, oh, I don't even want to watch it now. I get home and just be like, "No, I'll just skip it." You already told me what happened at the end of the night. Why should I even watch?
Yeah.
And after a while, it just became a habit where I just stopped watching.
And
even though I already knew, like, the moment that's the problem, and I'll just leave. I'll kind of leave us on at least. I'll answer your question as to why I don't watch without you being prompted to ask.
Okay.
If you watch wrestling for long enough, or let's just say you watch like the Marvel movie.
Right.
You watch them. If they kept making a Marvel movie every single year, you would kind of get into that rhythm. And you'd notice like certain key things, and then you'd go, "Oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen." And people around you would be like, "Well, how do you?" It's like, I've been watching this for too long. I know the formula. I know what's gonna happen. I know what Vince is a very formulaic dude.
Right.
Like he's not like a genius. Vince in the '90s was a genius. Now I will give it to the man that Stone Cold Steve Austin beating his ass in a hospital room was probably the most ingeniously done thing that I have ever seen. Being able to offer Sable enough money to basically come out in hand paint was an ingenious thing.
And then giving her more money to put a shirt on.
Pretty much. Giving Mark Merrill a career is probably the most risky thing he's ever done. Because Mark Merrill would punch people in the face as hard as he possibly can.
Right.
I would say equally as weird would be making Chuck Palumbo and
Billy Gunn
Billy Gunn have some type of weird pseudo relationship thing. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yeah.
So much so that Billy Gunn had to ride out on bicycles with a full beard for a while.
Right.
Yeah. But Vince McMahon in the mid 2000s when he went to this PG-13 WWE franchise,
mm-hmm.
It was by the numbers. You could tell what's going to happen. You could see who's who. You saw the tag teams. You saw what storylines were going to come out. And you just caught every single piece of it. Nothing surprised you anymore. Nothing was exciting anymore. And they would try to be like the 90s style. Like, you know, they try to mix it up a little bit. You get a Dean Ambrose. You know, you get a, you know, the Shield was kind of a good toss-up, but everything after that just seems so bland.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to watch.
Yeah, I can agree. That's been lackluster at best, in my opinion. Like
AEW exists.
Yeah, but also at that time, I think when you kind of stopped watching on the regular, it really didn't have competition other than Impact Wrestling, if you think about it.
Right. I mean, I think that's what really helped the WWE in the 90s, is that they were directly competing with ECW. They were directly competing with WCW. And during that time period, the only other place that you could really get any good matches besides that was TNA and Impact. And TNA was where dinosaurs go to live. Right. It's like, do you want to watch a 60-year-old man wrestle another 60-year-old man? It's like, no. No. It's like, yes, I want to watch Sting take on Nash. Nash is over here on a damn walker, damn near. Right. I saw that a bunch. Go ahead. I saw that a bunch in WCW. I don't want to see it in TNA. Well, Nash was in his prime then, but now that you're seeing him like 20 years later, or 15 years later, it's like, bro, don't even do this. Nash just had like 4 knee surgeries. He's phoning it in as hard as hell. Razor Ramon doesn't even have the same head. Right. Like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, here comes Scott Hall. It's like, who? That doesn't look like Scott Hall. It looks like a Mexican dancer with the Scott Hall face. Like, he's had so many facial surgeries. Like, he looks weird. And Sting doesn't look like Sting anymore. Like, he doesn't have that same Sting flair. Yeah. He doesn't have the Sting flair from, like, the early 90s when he was doing the, you know... The Surfer Sting? Yeah, Surfer Sting kind of feel. He doesn't have the Halloween Havoc Sting feel. He doesn't have that, you know, coming down from the Raptors hitting people with a baseball bat Sting feel. He feels like a dried up old dude with Sting mask on, or Sting face paint on. Right. Nope. Definitely understand that. Yeah, there was no field of competition for WWE, and I think that's really what drives them to either be better or not. Or it was kind of the way I think of it, because I have a good friend who, me and him used to just talk wrestling all the time. That's all we did. We just talk wrestling. Kind of, they're all about AEW now. They barely watch anything WWE, which is fine. AEW's great right now. Could be better, but hey, you know, they're doing well for themselves, only being around for a year and 2 months. So I'll give them their credit. But like, I'd ask him about pay-per-views, and he was like, because I wasn't able to watch the pay-per-view, and I was busy on my bowling league bowling, and I'm like, I don't want to look at my phone. I want to just know who won the match. And he was like, oh yeah, this is what happened. And I was like, okay, so nothing important happened. Got it. They're saving that for WrestleMania. Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much good time. Yeah, it's kind of like watching a Jim Cornette special, but if he was on like slow speed. Right. Oh. But no, I think honestly I enjoyed myself thoroughly just talking wrestling for once. Right. After so many damn years of not watching wrestling. Yeah, man. Definitely we'll have to work something out. Maybe get Conspiracy on here with us, because I talk to him about wrestling all the time too, and
he wants me to shut up about it, but he knows I won't. So
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, to me, to be honest with you, I watched wrestling for so many years that I really loved it.
right,
It depressed me to know that wrestling kind of took the
turn for the worst.
did, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But it is what it is.
I got a proposition for you. Maybe maybe you and me, maybe we get Spiracy on board too. Did you ever watch the movie No Holds Barred?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we can get Luane on board, would you want to do a watch along of that movie?
Honestly, I probably would. I mean, what was it? Tiny Zeus Lister.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to him.
Passed.
Yep.
So, I mean, honestly, I would watch it just for that because, I mean, it's a terrible film.
It is a terrible film.
But it was one of the films that really put him on the map, and it was actually one of my. Honestly, it's a real film for Tiny Zeus Lister. I mean, we just lost him this year. I don't see why I wouldn't.
Right. Okay. Well, definitely, man. I'll get a hold of Spiracy. We'll work something out. I got you on here, so I know where to find you.
Oh yeah, just hit me up anytime.
You got it, brother. You do the same if you ever want me to join you in a fighting game sometime. If I have that game, anyways.
Oh yeah, just hit me up, dude. We'll set it up.
All right, man. Sounds good. Appreciate your time, brother. Have a good Christmas, all right?
You do the same, man.
Awesome. Bye.
Later.
So, guys, that was me and BloodiaJin. Like I said, he's a Twitter YouTuber type guy. He loves fighting games, as you can tell. That's his icon right there. Had him on phone chat with me, so just bullshitting, talking about wrestling. I wanted to get his take on certain things. He said he didn't watch it anymore, so yeah. So yeah, if you guys like, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, go subscribe to him. We'll try to keep these things going, man. Get just if you liked it, cool. If you don't, cool. It's just bullshitting, man. Just talking wrestling. Like I said before, I love talking wrestling. I just do. But I enjoyed my time with him today, so I hope you guys did as well. And it's been Smack to the Mat, and catch you on the flip. Hopefully I can get Vince back on, and we could do some more Battleground shit. But everyone have a safe and happy Xmas. Hope you guys get something you want, and if you don't get anything, hey, hope you had a fun time with family or friends, or doing whatever you're doing for the holidays. Thank you. Have a good one.